Hello.
Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's some deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
When you're
the
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
The Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
yeah.
You know,
He's like,
he's up there slapping, pissing all over everything.
is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize.
You know what Pertnear means.
If you know what Pertnear means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pertnear Outdoors. What's up, gang? Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for another week and another chat here with us at Pertnear Outdoors. And this week, we sat down on Friday night. It was Brian, Dallas, AJ, and myself. We wanted to get a chance to sit down and catch up. We haven't had a chance to do that in quite some time. So the four of us sat down on my back deck, pretty much just had a 18-pack of beer and a list of a few things we wanted to talk about, and wanted to just catch up, tell some stories, and see where the conversation took us. It turned into a long conversation. I essentially had to, kick Brian and Dallas out because they probably would have stayed there and drank beer with me all night until the sun came up, and we both would have, or all three of us would have been in much worse shape. AJ escaped around 12:30 and headed home, which was probably the best decision he could have made. And the rest of us, both Brian and Dallas and I, we stayed up until like 1:30 and finally called it a night. So needless to say, Saturday was a long, humid day, entertaining children, and I think we all were feeling it, but we had a really good time with this conversation. So just a little heads up, there is some adult language, so forewarning to that. If you're listening to this in the vehicle with the kids, that we're just talking and not really censoring ourselves at all, so be aware of that. And we talk about just kind of updating everybody where we're at with our summer preparations for upcoming deer season. We get into talking about food plots and some of the trail camera stuff we have going on that we've been talking about over the last couple months, and what we're seeing for bucks right now currently. It's definitely, we've seen some deer glassing, but not on our immediate property. But with all the changes with the food and everything, what we've got going on there, interestingly enough, just in the last 5 days, things have really, the patterns seem to have changed right around the beginning of August, end of July, beginning of August, and been pretty cool to see some deer showing up on camera that we haven't seen glassing, and hopefully, don't take that those deer are going to stay around. And we talk quite a bit about that on this discussion, that what you see right now is not necessarily what's going to be around, but it's very interesting putting the cameras out early and doing some glassing and seeing what you're seeing right now and kind of keep an inventory, and then once season comes around, see what's still hanging around the block. So definitely a really fun time of year, and it's fun to do a lot of this scouting and to be out in the field and engaged as much as you can right now, as it kind of keeps the excitement level up, and will carry us through the last couple months of summer here before we get to start chasing deer around. So that's that's kind of what we talked about here. Like I said, we got into a bunch of stories. I think I'll make this into definitely going to be a two-parter. So this first part of the conversation is a couple hours, and I'm still working my way through the second 2-hour batch, which I'll probably just release, not on our normal schedule. I'll probably just release that middle of the week, this week, maybe towards the end of the week, like Thursday or Friday. And anybody who enjoyed what we were talking about before can jump in there and listen. The last 2 hours is a lot of just storytelling and and shenanigans. So some fun stuff for sure. I love these conversations. I like listening to other guys and other groups, doing this same thing. And I really enjoy sitting down with my buddies and telling stories and picking on each other and cracking jokes. That's a huge part of the hunting and fishing and outdoor culture. So that's what we got on this episode as far as that goes. Had a couple Q&A questions. One of them, I don't think we really addressed that clearly, and that was scouting tactics for this time of year, both on the woods and on the farm. We talked quite a bit about scouting on the farm, so I think we covered that end of it pretty well. But as far as the woods goes, it's a pretty tough time of year if you're not using trail cameras to do any scouting that really is of high value right now in the big woods. That's just my opinion. So typically I spend a lot of my time focusing on areas where I can see things and I can glass on the farmland that I have access to. But, if you are trying to find, new areas to hunt, and I would say definitely don't get too excited about the sign you're not seeing right now, but try to look for any old sign, whether it be rubs or maybe some old scrapes that you can kind of see where they were. Maybe they're a little covered up, or maybe they're even being, maintained a little bit right now, just as community scrapes on the ground. Maybe look for licking branches, that are old and snapped off, just kind of give yourself some ideas of what you're looking for. But it is definitely a tough time of year to do that summer scouting or to do that scouting in the woods. But don't hesitate to get in there and put some boots on the ground right now. You're not going to hurt too much walking around and looking for some of that old sign. So that's that on topics for this week. And I've got a couple podcasts scheduled for this week that I'll be sitting down to do recordings of. I'm going to be sitting down with Heritage Archery. That was one of the bow shops that a bunch of you guys out there commented we should sit down with and do something similar to what we did with Earth Spirits. So we're going to be, I've never met them, never been to that shop, so I'll be meeting them this week and sitting down with a local person who works at, who's a member of a local archery club, to chat with her about, hunter ed. There's been a big change in hunter ed. We'll be talking about that and kind of perspective from an educator's side of things, not necessarily from the educatee or the student. So I'm kind of interested to see how she feels about this whole program and everything going virtual and not having that hands-on approach. So we'll be, I think we'll have a good conversation there to bring to you over the next couple of weeks. And yeah, I'm sure there's other stuff to talk about, but I've been talking for 6.5 minutes. So enjoy the podcast. Thanks again for the support. Share it with anybody close to you that's not already listening. It's growing over the last couple of months. It's been great. And we need all of your support to help us continue growing this. And we want to have a nice, happy, large audience come deer season, because we're going to have a lot of stories to share. And we want a lot of you that are listening to help us with our Breeding 'em Radio segment as we're telling stories of people that are having success around the state. So thank you again. Have a great week. Stay healthy and keep feeding them. It is bad for conservation. What fucking asshole said that? This is a family podcast. I shouldn't be talking like that.
Pinocchio.
You just had an R-rated one.
Yeah. Now I have to mark it E next to it for explicit. Hello, boys. Now we can start talking.
Howdy.
What do you think of our outdoor podcast studio? It's pretty sweet, right?
Yeah. So, as soon as someone figured out how to work it.
Yeah. I had to find my stuff, and now we got cords all over the damn place here.
Yeah. I was picturing it in the basement, a lot creepier.
Yeah. Well, see, the problem is if we went in the basement, Sarah would have been yelling at us the whole time because we were making noise. And then we would have probably not enjoyed ourselves. So now we can be as loud as we want. Air conditioner's on.
Life is good.
Yeah, life is good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting down here on the back deck. Got Brian, Trigger. Is it too loud? I'm loud? You can use your words and tell me that I'm loud. We're just working through this. I sound great to myself.
You take hints.
I do take hints.
Just checking.
Is that better for you? Is that better? The host has to be loud and clear. I can adjust the audio afterwards. Okay? This is called show business, Trigger.
Roger.
So I got Trigger. I got Dallas.
Yep.
It's been a few weeks, a month. I miss you. It's good to have you. And AJ,
What's up?
the deer whisperer. So we brought 8. The 4 of us. We haven't all been together in quite some time. So it's good to get everybody together. We wanted to do kind of like a bullshit session, drink some beers, talk about what's been going on this summer. Maybe hear some fun stories about how Dallas has been on the IR for a few weeks. I hear there's a story behind that. And we also got some questions that I put a post up on Instagram today and got a few questions from people on some stuff that they're curious on that we can cover a little bit. So I guess first and foremost, what the hell did you do to your ribs, Dallas? That's the most important thing right now.
Yeah, I think I broke one of my ribs a couple weeks ago camping. I was running with the kids and running.
Wait a second.
What?
It sounds like you were holding the kids and running to the trying to get one on the potty or something.
Right. No.
No.
My kids are always trying to get me to run or do crazy, stupid stuff that I know that I can't do. But this summer I've gotten into a little bit better shape and I'm feeling a little more strong. I don't know, whatever you want to.
Spry.
Yeah, stupid really
Young.
is what it is. So we end up
Drunk.
running at the Vogel's campsite. Yeah, of course it's Friday night at like 8 o'clock and we're running from the campfire over to the camper and back and timing each other. And my first run went good, and the second one I was trying to run as fast as I could, which obviously is not very fast at all. But apparently it's fast enough to, and going downhill was the dumbest thing. Running as fast as you can down a hill. My feet and I watched Brian do it 2 minutes before. He did the same thing as me. You get going, your feet can't keep up with your upper body. And next thing you know, all I see is green, my face planting in the grass, and I flip over and stand up, and it's like, oh, son of a bitch, they punctured my lung, so it's been 2 weeks now of not really being able to do much of anything. I mean, the first week was hell. I couldn't barely get out of bed, so, yeah.
So I was the first.
Some people never learn,
No.
I was the first one to go down. It was pretty embarrassing, and I walked the rest of the way back because I just face planted it and skidded a little bit and flipped over. But it was very heartwarming to see
Someone else.
Big Brother do the same thing.
There might be a video out there.
Yeah.
Really?
Tried Google.
Google. WW. I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of a story. You remember when we were at Russ's that one night, AJ? Was it you that hit the thing, or was it
Nutty and
Nutty?
Nutty and I both. Nutty hit the stump. I hit
A
the
car.
car.
Yeah.
Dead on. There was some beer involved with that.
We
one.
were also doing. What is with that? Like, we were also doing the same thing. You guys were racing to see who could run to the car and back to the fire.
Meredith started it. She
Okay.
knew Nutty wouldn't not race, and I was drinking, so I wouldn't race. And she pitted us against each other to see who was fastest.
Right.
So we started racing, and I nailed the front end of a car. And,
think-
flipped over the car. I was down, and then Nutty's laughing at me as he's running by and runs nuts into a tree
It
stump.
was his knee.
Oh,
Like,
his
he
knee right
was
into a
running
tree stump, and
wide
he was-
open, and it's pitch
he was-
black in a yard.
He was done.
And there was a tree that they had cut down in Hench's yard at like knee level, and he hit that thing going 100. And I just remember AJ running in the pitch dark and just hearing whack right on metal, and everybody's like, oh, and then all of a sudden you just hear this just dead thump when he hit that tree stump. That was not good.
I've seen the Hench's yard. I don't know how many people have crashed into a pine tree drunk there.
That's why they cut them all down. It was
Where
a
is it?
hazard.
Where is it?
On what road is that?
It's not Bailey.
It's Irf.
Irf Road, yeah.
The corner of Irf and
The,
Kern.
the worst road in
Yeah.
Colesville.
There's a pine thicket there, and their house is kind of carved out in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're all right, Dallas, because we need you. And despite that, I had no idea you were that hurt because you were out there putting in the work. So
That's right.
Let's talk about that because you and I talked quite a bit in June and going into July. Talking like trail camera stuff. We got the Cuddy Link system up and running. You've been dicking around a lot with that. Testing things out and putting them in different places and trying to stretch it out and see how far you can get the range of the cameras and everything else. But you've been doing a lot of work with the food plots too. So
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about what we've got going on with that.
Yeah, we planted 6 acres of soybeans back in early June there. And
Before the drought.
yeah, they came up good, but then they were starting to get overrun by weeds, and I think we caught them just in time and got them sprayed. And can see on the trail cameras now that the weeds are dying out, so it looks like everything's going to be good there.
I
and
think
then,
we got it just in time.
yeah. So
And then we
on,
got some rain.
on top of that, I started prepping for fall food plots, including a new spot that I'm putting in, which I think is going to be a sweet little kill plot. It's right down below our elevated blind, which sits up on a creek bank. So we're going to end up being about 20 feet over top of this nice little fall food plot that it's probably one of the only good spots that we have as far as access and exit, as far as just getting in there quietly and everything, and right near bedding and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that. So I've been prepping the fields for that, for fall food plots, and this morning I sent out soil samples for 3 of them. I'm not too worried about the other 2 or 3 because they've already been in rotation. So we're gonna get the results back from that probably next week, and then I think we could touch base with John Teeter again and have him help us formulate a plan for exactly what to plant. And I've already scouted out a place where I think I'm gonna buy most of the seed, where they sell food plot specific things. I've been kind of looking for a place like that. So Shamel Milling is the name of the place where I'm going to try to buy the stuff from them.
Where is that?
It's in East Concord.
East
It's right by Colden. So
Okay.
I'm going to...
It's on Genesee, right?
Yeah.
Right on Genesee there?
Yep. So
The
they're
railroad
set up...
tracks or whatever.
Yeah, right on the track. So they're set up to do food plot stuff. So they've got bags of stuff, and then they also sell like the pre-bagged mixes, and then they sell bulk seed that you can just go in there and tell them, I want 10 pounds of red clover or whatever, and they'll just bag it up for you and charge you by the pound. So
Nice.
I'm gonna try to buy everything from there, and so that'll be between now and say Labor Day. Try to get all the fall stuff planted, and then after that it'll be cameras and killing.
Yeah, it's been really fun, like seeing, because it's kind of been a struggle. We've talked about it, not having, the big equipment, and your dad getting a lot of that stuff in, and us not really having to worry about it. And you've done a lot of the work, but Brian's done a bunch too, including destroying the bush hog. You're pretty effective at that.
Luckily, I fixed it too.
Did you? That's why we like you, because you can break shit and fix stuff.
Yeah. So
that's why I stay away from a lot of those operations, because I can break stuff and I can't fix it.
Brian decided to mow a rock garden.
It's a very nice trail.
You cut those rocks down flat.
Yeah. I believe Dallas was less than impressed with your choosing of path.
I drove down it on a 4-wheeler. I'm like, could you have possibly found a worse place to go with that thing?
Well, I wasn't real impressed either.
Yeah.
But
once you're in it, you're in it. There's really not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah.
When you pick your path.
Life's a bitch.
Life's a bitch. You're 100% right.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
You win some, you lose some. There's songs about that, Trigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've, based on what's going on, and you kind of called it. I mean, things were going to be a lot different this summer as far as what we were seeing, and with the Cuddy Link system, we've had pretty good coverage of the property, but exactly what you suspected. I mean, all that corn has totally changed the way that things have been up to this point.
Right.
And it's even different to go glassing. Like, there's 2 spots to glass from,
which makes it easier.
It is easier, and the deer are all just like, they're just pounding the alfalfa and the soybeans that are there, because there's not a whole lot of it around. Like, it's all corn for the most. Even the neighbors have planted a lot of corn.
Yeah.
So
the one thing we did was our old reliable food plots in the back there, we went and planted soybeans in there, thanks to Billy Kirsch for coming up and get with his corn planter and getting them in there. And that's the old reliable spot where the deer know that they can come and find soybeans, so they've been all over that.
That's loud. I'm sorry.
Is that Dallas's rib?
Just got too much.
Back in?
Correct.
Yeah. Trying to figure out which one of these. Say something, Trigger. I think that's you. I'm trying to figure out. I'm sorry, folks. I'm shook up tonight. Yeah, this is bad.
What's going on?
There's not a lot of light out here. I love the ambiance, but just cords and not enough light.
Hmm.
Yeah, but we're gonna work through it.
Have another sip there.
I will. I gotta drink some more of this.
Got your Snickers?
Yeah, I'm a little Betty White here. Thank you,
Stay hydrated.
AJ. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, if you don't have Snickers, more beer will work.
Yeah. So what's your Brian and Dallas? What's your feeling? Well, AJ, you're running the Cutty Link system too.
Yep.
But you don't have the cell version of it.
No,
So you got the old-fashioned manual, and you've got you got all your cameras. You have
I've got all
Four
four
out.
of them out.
Four
yeah.
of them out.
Yep.
But what's your impression been of that system, Dallas? You've been the one that's been the most hand-on with it.
Yeah, overall extremely impressed. We do have some things to iron out, and I don't. Some of it's not even Cutty Link stuff. Like we've noticed, like that the camera that's most active is the one on that soybean food plot, and it's having some issues because right at dark, when of course all the deer are moving through there, it's taking pictures and it's flashing when it shouldn't be.
But it takes a non-flash picture at the same
Right,
time, too.
occasionally. But I know what the issue is. It's because we have it mounted on a tree with shade over it, and it's shooting out into the light. So the camera's in the dark. It thinks it's dark out, and it's turning the flash on out into a light field, and then it's so the pictures are coming back gray. So we just need to move it out on a stick and get it in a different spot.
Yeah, you're never going to get rid of that problem completely. Because right at the point where it's in between
That in between
flashing and not flashing is it's always gonna screw with you. But
yeah. But there's two
all
points.
them cameras have been taken. If you look at the timestamp,
Right.
it'll take
Well, that one on the end of the woods is the same way. It's in the woods shooting out into the light.
the Hardwoods Front Trail was doing that too. I think they're all doing it, and I'm wondering if it's just snapping two because it's not even like it's right at that unsure time.
Well, when there's a deer there, it's going to take a picture every 5 seconds anyways. So there's some things to work out. But one of the things I've been wanting to do anyways, and this will help this problem, is that I want to put scrape trees up in the fields, and that because that concentrates the deer over that area potentially. You know, they like to come over and check those scrapes, and I think if they see, I mean, a bunch of the cameras are on scrapes already, and they're coming to use them. But I think if we put those trees right out in the middle of a field, I have a feeling they can't resist coming over to check that. But that'll also give us a background to reflect off of, instead of just shooting out into the open air, open space.
Yeah.
Why, when you have a camera or when you have a background, you get a much nicer picture because the light actually stays in that area.
See, like an incandescent flash, like the old ones, they would do good wide open. I mean, they about knock you over.
Yeah.
When you walk by
It's
them and you don't
amazing.
expect them.
Yeah.
You think you got shot.
They took awesome pictures, though.
Yeah, and you didn't need a backdrop. But the infrared and the IRs, or the black flashes, they all seem to just kind of fizzle. They need something like the right here. If we were shooting towards those trees, I think that would be enough to reflect off of.
Bounce back, yeah.
I feel like it shouldn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm disappointed with.
Dan Schultz told us about that he recommended always trying to get something in the background for as far as the flash. And what we've also noticed too is I started pulling the card. You know, when I move the cameras, I pull the cards off of them and get the actual SD pictures.
Right.
And they're light years better because every time the cell cam sends a picture, it has to compress it down.
Puts them to small.
And it's a much blurrier picture. So when you think you don't have a good quality picture coming through to your cell, you go and put the SD card in the computer and look at it, and it's light years better. So I don't know what those pictures are going to look like, but I imagine the ones that are gray like that, they're probably not going to look good. But
yeah. Like Jimbo and I were talking about that today because we run spy point cameras up at camp, and you know he's thinking about getting another camera, and I was having that exact same discussion with him today. Is, you know, you're not terribly impressed by the quality of the picture you're getting sent to you on the app, but it's sending a picture over a cell phone, and it's using like Dan said, it's using the minimal amount of data possible.
Yeah.
Think about it though. You can tell when it's a 4 or 5 year old buck with
and that's my point.
Good horn.
On October 25th, when you get a picture of a buck at 5 minutes after sundown, I don't care if you can score him to the exact inch. If you see that mature deer, chances are you know which one it is to begin with because of a whole summer full of pictures. But I mean, you're gonna have a pretty good idea of what you're getting there, anyways. So the one thing I do miss is I've gotten in the habit the last couple of years, putting all my cameras on video, and there is no better way to get a good look at a deer is
Because
having
if it's a poor picture,
yeah,
the video just
they're
kinda,
always moving their head and showing you every last little thing. And I mean, the cameras that I have out, aside from the cutting links, I still have them on video just because I miss it. I love going through those videos and looking at them that way. But it's just a compromise that you're making. I mean, they can't send they can't send thousands of videos.
No,
it's not possible.
I think that's great. That's a great point. I think it's a good suggestion for people putting cameras out. Is if you're not concerned about leaving it out for a full year and not losing batteries, like
SD card and battery life.
Have a 16 gig at least.
I use
card in
32s.
Do you?
Yeah.
And it's like, and just put it on video.
Yeah.
Like I have the camera on State Land right now, and I got 3 videos of decent bucks, and all of them, if you look at just the first, like when you look at it on the computer, the first screen grab, that like the preview, there's nothing in the picture. But then you play the video, and here goes that buck by. So like if that was a picture, would I have just gotten a picture of an ass or a leg or a tine in the front of the picture and then had nothing else? So having that video is really nice when the deer are on the move. And
yeah, and I have one camera that's it's a cheap Moultrie. I have some better Moultries. I love them, but the cheap one takes real grainy photos and videos. But if you do have a camera that doesn't take the best pictures, turn it to video, and it'll still be grainy, but at least you get a lot more chances to look and see what's going on there.
Yeah.
But back to the cutting link, though. Yeah, overall, super. I'm thrilled. But
they'll take video, right?
They will, but you have to have them on independent. You have
Okay.
to just set them up as their own camera. So, to me, that doesn't do a lot of
Well,
good. But
why would you buy? You
well,
can buy.
But if you had one that was out of range or something, or if you just had to throw one up in a pinch, you could put it on video.
But you can buy cameras that are the J20. I don't know what it is, but they look just like ours, but they're not link cameras, and they're not much. Like right now, you can get them for new $100 on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, if you just Google them, I mean, there's a lot of them you can get for about $100.
Yeah, I think it's like a trend you're seeing. There's so much sell stuff out there now that the regular cameras you can get them for like.
Well, they're only like 100 and they're less than 200 on the Cuddyback site, probably 160, I think.
Yeah.
But the specs are all the same as the link cameras that we have.
They just don't have that.
Don't have that capability, so they just kind of bury them at the bottom. They're just not. They're not highlighting those.
Right.
Put it that way. But if you wanted to, at least you know what you got, because I think it would be a similar camera.
I'd feel comfortable sticking with Cuddyback anyways. I mean, if I had to buy another, which I don't know, at some point, I don't know. I got to think the next cameras I buy will probably just be more Cuddy links anyways. But I would buy just a Cuddyback camera if it was just for one independent camera. But I also did the 3rd firmware update of the year last week, and I've had enough firmware updates for the rest of the year. It's real easy to do, but the problem is when you got 8 cameras, you got to do it 8. You got to go to every location and update the firmware.
Okay.
That's the one thing you can't do remotely. You have to. Well, there's 2 things you can't do remotely. One is update the firmware. I mean, aside from obvious things like changing the batteries, but you have to set up the clock and the settings on the home camera initially. At least the clock. You can still set up the picture, flash settings, whatever, remotely. But when I moved it the last time, I forgot to reset the clock, so it was off like 20 minutes. So I had to go back and change that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you want to do. But once you get the time and the date set right on the home camera, that camera itself updates all the other ones that are linked to it. And then, like, how I have a name on every camera, that can be done remotely, which is so much easier than going through and pressing buttons. And, it's like it's not a big deal setting all that stuff up with the buttons, but if it takes you 5 minutes to set up all the different settings.
And then you move it
each camera.
next week.
And if you forget, and the worst thing is if you forget to do one thing or another, and then you go home and you realize you got it wrong, but it's just nice to, at night, I just log in and I go in and I just set up everything I want to on the cameras. It's great.
Yeah.
That part, the Gen 2 software, where you can set everything from a computer is just that's life changing. That's awesome.
So is there a Gen 3? You said you did a third update?
No, it's still anything. When I bought the cameras, it was firmware version 7.7. So Gen 2 is anything 8.0 and higher.
Gotcha.
So now they went to 8.1. And I asked, I just threw it out on the Facebook group before I did it. I'm like, hey, are you guys going to do any more updates this year? Because I only want to do this one more time, you know. And again, it's easy, but it's just the fact that you got to go and do it to all the cameras.
It's probably killing battery life. And
No,
I don't think it takes too much with batteries.
it's easy, but whoever responded to me, I don't know. They seemed like they knew what they're talking about, but they said no, we're done, which I'm done anyways for this year.
Yeah.
You know, everything's working good. I don't have any concerns with that. So
well, we had performance concerns originally, and then you did the software update.
yeah,
Good to go.
there we go.
So I don't know if we're having issues. You know, sometimes one of them updates is fixing an issue that you wouldn't even know.
Right.
You know, maybe
We just got 30 pictures here in the last couple seconds while we were talking.
the food plot's hot.
Yeah.
The food, they're hammering it.
And I'm telling you what, we have two. We got two 2-year-olds that.
They're all over the cameras.
Well, yeah, and they
This
need.
is one of them is on there
With
right now.
the one's got that wannabe little nub on his G2. There's one with taller brow tines, one with shorter brow tines. They both, if they could both make it another year.
Yeah, well, that tall, tight one has definitely got to be on the note. Oh, look at this. They're all over that spot that I mowed last night. There's bucks in there.
Really?
And that's right below the hut.
Yeah.
Because there was a buck in there a half hour before you went there last
Two
time.
bucks. Yeah, I know. I saw him.
He was up close and personal, right? In the,
That was-
So Billy, have you seen? Oh, yeah, that's a nice tall 2-year-old buck that's right down in the. So, we got a new cousin Eddie, Billy. There's that 5 or 6 pointer. He goes straight up with the.
Oh
tines.
yeah, he's
And
cool.
you guys didn't even see the pictures when I put that camera down in the scrape on the north end of the property, and it wasn't connecting because I didn't have a camera in between where it could reach.
But he's cool. He goes straight up, and his points kind of go straight
So I
up.
put
too.
this mock scrape. Well, it was a spot where there was a scrape, and then I threw a rope there and put the camera on it. And that son of a bitch, the first 4 days, he just kept coming back and checking it. And he's like, "Man, there's nobody here." You know?
I thought there was a party.
He was all over it. So now he's on a different
so
camera.
It's that. So that.
Yeah, it's
deer is all,
that same
awesome.
buck. He's just all over everything.
What should we call him? Let's name him right now.
All right.
The captain.
No, I don't think that.
He's not quite a captain. He's maybe a greenhorn or a
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
junior. Oh, like you call him
A deckhand.
a deckhand. That's too much. Cousin Richard. Call him Richard. Dickhead.
Well, you're gonna shoot him the first day anyways, so
No.
we'll call him dead.
Call him dead. Yeah. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll call him dead.
Well, was it the cousin that we had last year? Old boy hit, or which one was that? Me and Molly, we all saw him about probably a total of 8 times on opening day, and then opening night, old boy, or either Saturday or Sunday, was coming down the road and smoked him, wrecked his truck, and he was pissed off. That son of a bitch! I ran into
Let
him
me
on.
tell you something.
So he hit him on opening day, right between the heifer barn and the house, and he went into the pine trees and died. So Sunday he found me, and he helped me drag him out of there, and he took that son of a bitch home. I'm taking him home.
Maybe like Forrest Gump or something. He's kind of retarded.
Yeah. Call him Forrest. Let's call him Forrest. I like that.
All right.
I'm holding on to our Steven name. I'm waiting because I want to see if that big wide one stays around. If he does, I'm gonna name him Steven.
Why is that?
After Steve Shirk.
Oh,
I need
okay.
to name a big buck after Steve Shirk.
Yeah.
You know. So that's
And-
what I'm thinking.
So we've really never named bucks.
I mean,
There's
obvious
so many
names:
around, though.
Split Brow,
Right.
Forky.
Well, I
You know,
have,
there's-
Tall 10.
yeah.
well, right now, I put those folders on our shared on Spy Point there, and I named the 3 of them as double brow, split brow, and triple brow. So
Look at that.
we haven't seen that buck in a while, though.
Triple brow?
Yeah,
Or
since,
double.
like,
I know.
late June. Well, that camera died down there, and then everything moved. That was when everything shifted out of the property, so I'm assuming we're going to see him back in there again.
So AJ, what do you got going on? Because you had a double, triple, quadruple, straight up half rack
You've had some crazy deer over
6
there.
Yeah,
brow.
We
There's
got
There's
one
a
again
freak
this
over
year.
there this
Yeah.
year.
I haven't been out much, so
I could've-
Billy's actually.
Are your
sent
cameras
me
out
more.
though?
Yeah, but I took them below the farm rather than above this year, and I think below the farm until later in the season, nothing goes out there. I
Oh.
haven't got any photos down there yet. So
I could have taken out your Broughtine Tower buck last year with the girls coming
You
home
ever seen
from daycare. Yeah, he crossed the road
buck
twice
I
in
found
front
the
of me.
sheds of, right?
below the farm there.
Yeah, right where the snowmobile trail crosses on Perry.
Yeah, did they always cross there?
Yeah, he crossed once, he crossed twice, and I had to stop because he was gonna do it again. And
Must
I'm
have been
like,
something hot over there.
How about this for a name, Bobby Boucher?
Bobby. Bobby. Which one? Which one's gonna be Bobby?
Either one. I mean, the
I
freak that we have
like
would
the
be
freak.
perfect for that.
He's a
So-
water boy.
so what's the water boy look like?
So I saw him. I don't know if it's the same buck.
I'm
but
guessing it's the
a-
same because it's
It's just. I mean, it literally just looks like just a block of horns. There's like
it's almost like two manes on one side, right?
It's
Like,
just
like
it just goes like this.
It
and
might be that freak again still, because just something's gonna be goofy with that right side, or right?
Because
I don't know.
so
Or the
I was
genetics
it was
in that
it
area,
was
it's
almost 9 o'clock
broader,
the other
right.
night. when I was spotting them through my spotting scope with my cell phone, and I think that one side is all just a solid pale mated. It looks like it's just a straight solid
Like a
pale
moose?
mated.
He's a shooter.
shooter.
Call him
But he
moose.
looks. I mean, he looks like a big deer, and I'm thinking it's that one, but it's pretty wild looking. Like it doesn't come out and around or nothing. It's just like
No, he sure don't.
it's just straight up horn.
He's just got some horn.
Yeah, but it's same as what we were talking about over at our farm. AJ.
it's right where the turkey that you got this spring.
That's weird.
The
Yep. Okay.
over at your place, there's way more corn this year than there has been in the past too.
Yep.
But then that field, so like the field behind Chuck's,
Mhm.
that field there, I didn't realize. So you got corn in where there's usually alfalfa, in the front towards the road,
Corn, alfalfa.
and then
corn,
there's like there's a really
alfalfa
skinny strip of alfalfa between two cornfields.
That's a shitty setup.
behind
huh?
the barn.
Oh my god, dude! So when I was leaving the other night, there was like, I mean, I couldn't count how many deer were in there. So we gotta
The
like
night after you sent me the picture, I went out and the same thing.
Yeah.
They're coming diagonal
across
that
right?
field.
Yeah.
So I was like,
We gotta like ask them if we can go
that's why
just
we wanted to go to scout. That's why I was asking about scouting this weekend.
Okay.
yeah, because there's all those beans down there too.
Yeah.
Below that,
What's on Jordy's?
Jordy's got
Beans.
beans.
it's all beans.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it's all corn over on his place.
Because a lot of times I've tried to go down there, it's corn. It's like you
You
can't,
can't see nothing.
see anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
out
all
towards the road. It's beans. I don't know what's out.
like
back.
if he would
Oh,
be.
that's what
if,
I mean.
If he would be,
Well, either way, if it's beans out front, that's almost better because you don't even have to go.
They're drawing them out to him.
You don't even have to go through the.
you basically just got to go right to where the vines are and
Yeah.
just hang out there, and they're
Well-
just filing out.
With the rifle.
No, I'm saying the glass just right
Oh
now.
yeah.
You
I'm
don't
not
even have
worried.
to
You
go
can
in it.
glass all you want. I'm gonna.
Anywhere,
glass
anywhere
them.
you can glass, Trigger can take him out with a
The
300.
yeah.
So,
Just line
You
them
do
up
all
and
the
I'll
scouting.
pile 'em.
He'll
a
finish the
mile and
deal.
a quarter, you say? Let me crank the scope up a little.
I'll hit him with a third
I'll put
shot.
it on 5 power.
Low.
Let me just get him running, and then
My first shot's my worst shot, anyways.
I know.
They only get better after that. So.
You got to get one hot through the chamber.
I mean, we had that monster below the barn the first year I hunted.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping it's around.
I
So
know.
that's why I got the cameras out behind the barn
Yeah.
right now. But
And I'm hearing that Alex is telling me he's got a giant. He's been watching a couple big ones behind his house, right over there.
An arm burst.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
like
that,
they're
that,
around.
that ditch kind of wraps around there.
Yeah. So what's been interesting, like
There's another drainage that kind of comes.
we were just talking about the camera pictures we got. Like it's pretty. I've been going over and glassing for about a month now, like once a week or twice a week, and was seeing all the bucks, and we weren't getting anything on camera.
But they really weren't coming out of our.
No.
They're either.
Yeah, they're coming out of the neighbor's property and feeding on the neighbor's property, and they're going away from our cameras. So we're getting no pictures of them, but they're there.
But
There's
they're a
like,
quarter mile away.
Yeah, and but there's groups of 12 plus bucks together.
Yeah.
10, 12 bucks. But then it's funny because like last night we were talking about it before we turned it on. Like it was like a light switch flipped. All of a sudden, like all the deer we're
You
just
don't-
getting bucks on every camera we have.
Right.
Which you move some of the cameras,
Yeah.
but it's even the same even the same up at camp. I haven't gotten a buck picture in 2.5 months on my cell cams, and all of a sudden this morning I got pictures of bucks too. So here we are going into August 1st, and they're starting to kind of find different food sources and move around a little bit. So I guess, anybody out there that's listening, or like a lot of people say, don't even bother putting your cameras out, but it's actually been pretty fun, like putting your cameras out early and seeing.
Well, it's a good thing we did because, you've
There's
worked through a lot
figure
of.
out.
Yeah, the main reason was to just work through the Cuddy link and get used to using that system and everything, and so I'm happy with that, and it has been fun.
I like
don't
to see 'em
but
grow.
don't get that's fun too, but don't get frustrated when you're not seeing bucks at this time of year, or especially in June and early July, because they could just be anywhere. And we've had a history. The bucks always move into our property before deer season. Now they shift. We have a lot of bucks that we lose track of,
right,
in September and October, but there's always a good supply of shooter bucks that are on the property and on camera. So,
what's your opinion though? Say we don't have an overabundance of like 100% shooters. I don't think we do. My opinion is they're going to stay. Usually we have a half a dozen that were like shooter, 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 and we lose at least half of them. Come
October
end
1,
of September, or
Hardhorn.
Yep.
Well,
so what I'm seeing this year, I don't think, we got a bunch of nice 2-year-olds running around.
Yeah.
But there's really not. We haven't got any pictures of really much more than that.
Except the one buck.
We got one good buck.
And that triple brow one on the other side of the road, I think he'll probably be.
And he probably will. But we haven't got pictures of him. So what I'm getting at is, I think a lot of times the bucks kind of congregate on our property, pound the soybeans and the summer food, and we're like, giggity, giggity, all right. And then come October, it's like, ain't a goddamn deer around here.
Well,
and we know there is. And I know that's,
that happens to
no,
everybody.
and I'm just kind of making a joke, but we don't get pictures. We don't get, we had pictures for 3 months of those deer, and we're going.
But your food source is different.
It changes. Well, this year it changed.
Yeah, that's
but,
what I'm saying. You got mostly corn, so they're going to come later on in the season.
But every year we have them. Nothing.
Yeah, he's talking historically.
Historically,
generally.
year after year after year
because
after year.
We usually have 50 to 100 acres of soybeans on our property, so we're used to seeing big bastard groups all summer.
Of 3+-year-old bucks that we're going, how hard is this going to be? But, so we lose them October, November. Yeah, and we know better anyways. But, it's hard to think otherwise when you're just like.
And it can get frustrating when you're seeing that all summer, and then it comes time to actually hunt. And
you don't know necessarily which ones are going to leave. Yeah, and as far as, a couple of points is that don't invest too much into your July scouting.
Right.
It's fun. It's great to see what's out there. Yeah. It's always good to do it, but don't start to try to pattern those deer, because that's useless.
Yeah.
In the food, that's the reason why we always get good deer or see good deer during the season, is because our food is king. We've always had the best food. We live in egg country. There's food everywhere, but we've always had good food through the deer season, and we've had a good variety, and we're going to have that again this year, even though our summer food was a little messed up. But now we got all our soybeans in, and we're going to plant all these fall food plots, and I'm confident that we're going to have some good fall feed there. And just the general ag, when they chop all that corn and plant triticale everywhere. So our food plus our cover, which I think that our whole block up there is good cover.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff Nick Scott's hunting and stuff like that, the whole block is great, but that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Because it holds a lot of deer and a lot of bucks.
In that few square miles.
Yeah, that's it's a big block. And there's
well,
a lot
the whole
of fields
block
there
is
too, but there's a lot of good cover just from start to finish there. So the matured bucks are always going to be in that area, because it holds everything they need. It's got cover, it's got food and water, it's got does for sure. So it's just that things change. So don't buy too much, no matter where you're scouting. I don't care if you're hunting, if you're scouting the big woods right now, in the mountains or whatever, just things are going to change. So don't buy too much into it. It's more for fun right now.
Yeah.
But also when you have those returning deer that you know that live on your property and you see them in July, maybe pay attention a little bit more to what they're doing,
Right.
because you know they're going to probably stay on that property.
Yeah.
But in general, it's more for fun at this time of year than it is anything else.
But I'm going to go back to my original thing. I think when there's a group of mature bucks,
Hey, they're in bachelor groups right now, and they're going to disperse.
they're going to disperse. There's only room for so many
Right.
3 and 4 or
Yeah.
5-year-old bucks. And maybe that block, well, the block is different, but maybe our property can hold a 3, 4, and a 5-year-old and a handful of 2s.
Time to wake up.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. I
Good
gotta go.
morning, Dallas. How
Oh.
are you? It's time to go to work.
Hello.
So
Why
in
don't
the
you tip another one back?
I'm going to sail into work today.
Well, I was just going to have another captain. So in the summer, our property can hold on to, who knows, 4, 5, 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
More and more. And, a handful of 3-year-olds and 22-year-olds. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times there's just that many bucks around.
Yeah.
And then, but they really,
Move
they
along.
disperse.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why they disperse as much as they do, because, like you said, the feed is everywhere. And
Yeah.
Kirsches have been doing beans. Even Pilks have been doing beans.
Well, the dispersal is pretty simple. It's because
It's
the mature bucks dominate.
Yes.
They dominate the way, and that's why you can feel confident every year. When that
One of them is going to
those,
hang out.
Those 3 and 4-year-old bucks that we had on property last year and didn't kill, and
Yeah.
we know that they survived. We know that they'll move back in and they'll take
Right.
over their areas and they'll push out the other deer as needed. And that's all you need, right? It's just those
Right.
particular deer
I
to
think
be living there.
some years when you have, say, you got 4 shooters, 4 older deer. You got a couple 120 and 30-inch bucks, and you got that 98-inch 3 or 4-year-old. Sometimes that's the card you draw, and that's the buck that wins his dominance there.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah,
be
he might
100.
just be a nasty 4-year-old with a bad attitude, and he pushes that good 3-year-old out of there.
It could be a 140-inch 2-year-old. The 2-year-old's not going to run that block in that property. It's going to be at least,
You might see him all the time because
Right.
he's on his feet and causing
and he's
trouble.
probably going to die.
Yeah.
Because
Quick.
Yeah.
That's
But-
happened to you a few times since I've known you. You're like, I'm gonna hold off this year, and it's like,
Oh, you didn't know him in his yearling days. every October he come back, he's like, yeah, I shot a nice buck. I think he's probably a 2-year-old, because that was our
2-year-old
standard.
killers, man.
That was our standard back in the day. Is we were 2-year-old killers. We're just.
he's either 2 or ain't going to make 2.
But Brian's like, yeah, I think he was a 2-year-old, and then we'd track him, and he'd be like,
He's dead.
Yep, he's dead.
Life just doesn't always give you what you think you got.
Well, we were hitting on a few points there that I wanted to break down. We were talking about food, and like you guys have always focused on having good food, but the other piece of that is having good food that you're not pressuring on October 1st.
Right.
And that's one of the big things that I learned when I started hunting with you guys is, picking and choosing when you go into these spots and when you pressure it. And like talking about it helps remind me of the importance of that, because you want to go in to that back food plot that's secluded and that you've got deer filing out there every single night. But if you go in there on October 10th and really push it, you might shoot a buck, but that might be the last good hunt you have out of that stand
And
for a month.
Yeah, and you can go in there a couple times. But, man, you cannot.
Routinely be in there.
No.
Yeah.
It's a.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about too, as far as our food plots. Is on one hand, we've been lucky over the years because we had Dad to just go in there and he'd be planting corn and beans in the area, and he would just go and plant those food plots. But they were planted out of convenience for his big equipment to get in there and do the job. So it was great having that food for the deer, but those spots weren't always in the best locations. So doing stuff differently now and knowing what we know about how to plant food and make small food plots and fall food and whatnot, I think in some ways we can do a better job. And we still have equipment. We just don't have that monster equipment.
We got a 9-point. That don't happen very often.
Oh, I didn't even see that picture.
3
bucks.
2-year-olds.
Show Billy that.
Is that in the area that you just cut last
Yeah,
night?
that I just cut it down.
Yeah,
There's-
that's the same group of bucks that's been feeding over behind pills.
There you go. All I did was mow down some old grass.
And they're there the next night.
There's nothing, you know, they're
3
all
of them in daylight standing there.
they're all 15, 16-inch wide.
Yeah, they're all
but
2-year-olds.
nice.
So-
That one's pretty tall though.
Yeah, it's
kinda
nice
nice.
He's
bucks.
taller, but he's got no brow tines hardly. And then there's a 9. The one's at 9 for sure.
So the big thing I want to change going forward is putting food plots in areas where we can get in and out without causing so much disturbance.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was me.
No,
But which our property, I've always said this, especially on the south side of the road, is bad access no matter what way you look at it. And that's why we hunt the edges there. And that's why
we
there's
do what we do.
there's
yeah.
always a battle between
Where the hell am I
wanting
supposed to
go
hunt?
and- wanting to go and go in the good spots, but having to realize that, you know, again, if it's October 10th and the weather's half-ass warm and windy and you want to hunt, all right, hunt, but sit on the edge of a field out on the outskirts somewhere and hope to get lucky.
And it happens.
Because, yeah, it does. Because there's food out there, and if you're not pressuring the deer, they will still act as their normal routines. But you can't just go pushing in over and over again because it'll just... And it's a competitive area. You know, those deer shift 100 yards and somebody else is hunting them all of a sudden.
And
you
they're
know?
dead.
Yeah. So...
No, and we've done that. I don't know how many years we've been trying to do that more and more and more every year. We used to
And I
hunt-
think we've in some ways we've gotten a little too conservative, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
I agree. I
I
agree,
think it's
but-
it's also the fact that when we do go in and hunt, we're taking bad access, and it's not necessarily because we're not making good decisions. It's just there aren't many things to choose from there as far as how you get in and out of that property. It's a shame because it hunts so good if you can get in and out of there.
So let me ask you this question: would you say that driving a 1000cc Commander at 75 miles an hour across a cut cornfield at at dusk?
It only does 74.
Oh, 74. But the mud that's coming off it might be going 75. Would you say that's good stealthy access, or would you say that
I'm
that's...
saying it's making a statement. I'm
Well-
coming for you.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
So like that's exactly it though. It's so funny because during the different times of season, it can be so delicate. But then you have like the morning that you shot that big buck with your crossbow.
Yeah.
That was a complete cluster. There was 4 of us up in the hardwoods.
Should we tell that story?
We should tell that story.
And maybe
Not the whole
can
story.
we get
don't
Crispy
have-
to?
Yeah, we don't have all
Can we get
day.
Crispy
Yeah.
to listen?
We don't need to tell my
I'll
part
tell
of
the
story.
sober.
Yeah.
I'll tell the sober part of the story if you want.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
wasn't
that's-
much of it.
No,
Right. That only
you're right.
lasted until
It
about
lasted like 45 minutes.
8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it was my first year hunting with a crossbow, and we all went up on, what was it, November 8th or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, opening day
Might have
crossbow.
been later. No, it was the second week, so it might have been
Oh,
like
really?
the 10th or whatever. Yeah, we got dressed, got geared up at the house, and drove 2 4-wheelers back to the woods and walked. It was cold, loud, and crunchy, and we walked through all the good stuff to get where we wanted to hunt because it was November 10th or whatever it was, and
But it's like an army
like
going back.
that's
It's
the
like a
time-
bulldozer. You might as well
that's-
just.
Yeah, you might as well just. So, I get all the way up in my stand. I'm
And-
half-ass sweaty. I hang my crossbow up, and I realize there's no fucking quiver.
So me,
didn't
me,
bring
you,
any
and Billy
arrows.
though. We
Yeah, the
we
3 of
walked.
us.
You kind of went straight, and then we went further down to the east. You know,
Yeah.
another bulldozer through
And of
300
course
some
we're-
yards
Of
of.
course, we're half hour later than we probably should be. Before shooting light when I get to my stand, but by the time I'm up in there, I'm probably
I didn't have a
ready
buck
to
tag.
shoot something. So I realize I don't have any arrows, so I'm like losing my mind. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and that's my history of bow hunting, is just doing stupid shit over and over, you know. So I'm like, well, my 2 choices are pack it up, and go and hunt somewhere else, and try not to fuck up Billy and Brian. But Brian had already filled his buck tag. He was just out there doing whatever. So
That was the year you shot the 10 point in the food plot, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably like
Like opening weekend.
the first week.
Yeah.
So I decided, I'm like, oh, screw it. I'm going to leave my backpack, my crossbow, everything up in here, and I'm just going to try to... the quiver was at the house. Luckily, it wasn't at my house. It was at
It's
Dad's house.
A long ways away.
It's a 400-yard walk through hardwoods of good hunting that you have to go back to get on the 4-wheeler. So I start trying to tiptoe through, and I'm like, fuck this. It's 6:45, and it's loud as hell anyway. So I basically ran to the 4-wheeler, drove that thing about 30 miles an hour back to Dad's house, grabbed my quiver, came back, ran back to the stand, climbed up in there, It's 7:15. I got my jacket, everything wide open. There's steam ripping out of my jacket and
And if
everything.
anybody knows me, and then Dallas is
Their sweat slots.
Pertnear the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm dying. I don't have a hat on. I mean, it's like 34 degrees out.
I don't think it was 34. It might have been 24. It was cold.
It was cold.
But
that
it was
morning.
it was pretty calm though.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was really a nice. And that thing that even pissed me off. It's like it was such a nice morning to
the
just go
perfect
out there
rut
and
morning.
sit and wait
Yeah.
for the So I sent a text to Brian and Billy. I'm like, I am the worst bow hunter ever. I forgot my fucking arrows. So I knock an arrow and I sit down for about 5 minutes and I hear a branch break and I turn around and I see a 4-year-old buck standing there 30 yards away and I hard shot him.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
And-
good thing I made time as much as I did and didn't.
He might have thought you were a
Didn't
deer
dick
coming
around.
back. All the noise you were making.
I was 300 yards away from you, and it sounded like you broke an 8-inch tree. And then your scream. I'm
Can
pretty.
you tell us what you did there, Dallas? What's your signature move?
I have to hide the
It's turned
microphone
into a
for that-
signature.
for that response.
Woo! Yeah, bitch!
Yeah, bitch.
So I was nervous before the woo and the yeah, bitch, because I was
Thought I
I'll-
might have fell out of a
I was a
tree or
little
something.
nervous that you maybe fell out of the tree and broke you.
Yeah.
And then there was another crash, and you screamed something that somebody in Erie County would have
There's
heard.
nothing more distinct in the crisp, cold morning of the rut than yeah, bitch. From
So
300 yards away in the woods. Yeah.
So me and Billy are, you're what, a good 200 yards away, and then I'm about 3. Just guessing.
Yeah, we're not. You and I weren't far apart.
Yeah, about 80 yards.
Yeah.
So, did you get him? I think so.
Well, it's funny how quick doubt creeps in
Oh,
because
yeah,
you can't
yeah.
see that dead deer. It's like
And yeah,
I'm used to shooting them with a rifle, and they don't even move, and it's like, yeah, I got that one.
but he went like 50 yards.
It's not even.
So, me and Billy, we give him a little bit, and we tell you, hey, stay in the stand, because you're like, well, I think he's over here. So, me and Slick Willie march up there after about 20 minutes. We got arrows knocked,
Yeah.
and we're Elmer Fudding it, towing, and Dallas is pointing. Okay, that's where you shot him? Okay. Well, me and Billy get like close to where he goes, he ran like, a loop like that.
Well, there used to be a tree stand there, and I
Yeah.
said he died right under that tree stand.
So we get like 20 yards from the trail, and it's like, I think you could see blood,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
was just
like,
like a murder scene, which
Yeah.
it was.
And,
actually. Yeah.
we go about 5 more yards, and this
Literally.
Literally.
this freaking lard of ass is just sticking out of the briars, and it's like, oh, he's down.
Yeah, that was a good buck.
So get up there, Dallas. He's dead. All right. I go, yeah. Yeah, he might be a little disappointed.
No, it wasn't that. You said he might not be what you think he is.
Right.
Because in reality, if you look at that deer now, he's like a 20-plus inch wide deer on the outside spread, but he has real short tines, and he's real thick, real
Right.
good mass. So he's like just a small 4-year-old buck. But
Yeah, it was 100.
when I seen him, the first glimpse I caught of him was broadside, and I just like, ooh, that's a buck. And then he turned and looked towards my way just for 1 second, and I was like, holy shit, that's a shooter. And then he turned back, and I shot him, and he ran away, and I seen them short tines going through. So, in my head, I'm thinking, number one,
I slammed him.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Well, here's your first thought. Slammed him, huge.
I knew
Second
I
thought, maybe I hit
Yeah.
him decent.
Right.
I think he's all right.
Then I'm thinking
Fourth thought, should I scream, yeah, bitch?
there was no thought to that.
Okay, that was natural.
Yeah, that's a natural reaction.
You hunt with me, you celebrate your good kills.
It's
right?
created quite the tradition.
So, anyways, I think what you said was something like, I don't think it's what you're expecting or something like that. So I'm climbing down the tree. I'm like, I probably just killed a fucking yearling. So it's funny, I'm pissed, but I'm at the same time, I'm like, well, he's dead. Let's just go and, just do like trigger and just tag him and bag him, And so
have a bush and just get over how we're maybe not as happy as we thought we might be.
So
but
I
we're-
walk over to you guys, and you're just got these big shit-eating grins on your faces, like, all right, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like 21 and a half wide.
Yeah,
or
I
something
see
like
the
that.
deer, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that was better than I even thought he was when
His
I shot
ass
him.
was just
so.
like,
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
foot and a half
he was
up.
a big, mature deer. And what was cool, too, is we had a trail camera underneath that stand, or along the the path that goes along by that stand, and he had come by there at like 4:30 in the morning. So he'd come out of there, and then he was coming back, and he wasn't, at that time he wasn't chasing does or anything. He was
Eating
actually
apples.
Just looking.
Yeah, he was going to eat an apple.
Yeah. Apple cider.
Yeah.
He got it.
Now, one of the strategic things that I took away from you guys, and we were doing it that morning, and it seems just ridiculous, but it works really well, is when you're hunting in a block, especially a small block of woods if you're in ag land, but I bet you it would work just as well in somewhere like our property in Naples, is don't try to, like, everybody hunt their own 100-acre
Hey, you got to be on that corner. I'm going to
Yeah.
hunt this corner.
Like, Brian and I have had so many good hunts where we're literally within almost eyesight of each other. But, that morning, it was Dallas, me, Brian, and we
In
were
a
all
line.
in a line with the
300.
wind. So knowing
Dallas's wind was blowing to
us, so all of our wind was
Billy's was blowing to
right
me.
over
I
the
was-
top of each other.
Yep.
So I think that's a great tip. I never in a million years would have thought to do that. And when I started hunting with you guys, it was like, that's just what you did.
It's the trigger strategy. It's always been his thing, and it works.
Yeah.
It really does.
If I bring Dallas, no matter who, it works.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
It is
like
fun.
we've had really really good hunts with shooting does and bucks.
Yep.
Where we're literally so close you can hear the other person shoot.
Oh yeah.
It's a riot, like that makes it so much fun to be.
Hey, you watched him shoot that big 8-pointer back there with the bow too.
Yeah, and I watched him shoot a doe unbeknownst to me. I wasn't even I figured it out after a couple
this
seconds.
year, right?
Yeah, this year or last year.
I shot that doe. Brian was watching her, and he's like licking his chops.
She's coming down the trail right to me, brother.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, I shoot,
I
and
hear a crack.
And Brian hears a crack, and that deer runs right towards Brian and just stops.
She just took a couple jumps, and she was like looking back, and I'm like,
I thought I missed
the hell
her
happened?
because she was like 5 yards.
Yeah.
And if the arrow's so quick, and it just blew right through her.
I'm ranging her. She's 50, and I'm like, well, if she does anything stupid, she's dead.
Yeah.
Well, she did something pretty stupid. She started quivering.
Yeah, I
just
mean,
flipped over.
That was amazing. Oh, I just love those broadheads.
So what was it? Probably 8 years ago. Me and you. It was the last Sunday of bow season. Had to be 35 degrees out with about a 40-mile-an-hour wind. You call me. You're on your way home from Naples.
Yeah.
And you're like, that sucks. Freaking weather sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
It's the rut.
it's time.
Right.
Well, you gonna hunt? Yeah, I'm hunting. You coming with? Yeah, sure. Whatever, I had my Carhartts. I had every piece of clothing I had. I could hardly even pull a bow back.
Yeah.
So we went all the way back to those two stands, and I don't know if we saw much.
No, that was like there was nothing moving. I mean, the wind was literally 40 miles per hour sustained wind.
Real quickly though, too, to just interject it. It's funny because you tend to be a little bit on the negative side. Your personality.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You've no.
I don't get that out of me.
But at the same,
Who are you talking about, Billy or Trigger?
Trigger. He's like,
I'm the eternal optimist.
He
That's why
gets-
him and I are
Yeah.
so good together.
exactly.
It's the polar
eternal
opposites between
optimist,
the two of them.
And this guy is just like, fuck that shit, everything,
Yeah.
But
My balls are sweating.
It's stuck to my
underwear's
taint.
But the one thing that you do is that you will hunt any situation, bad weather, bad wind, mornings. You hunt a lot of mornings when a better man would not get out of bed, not because it's a bad morning to hunt, but because you had 72 bush lights the night before, or a half liter of vodka,
Half.
and
And an egg beater.
but you definitely go to these situations and you have luck in them, but
Yeah.
that's to your credit for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and when I was younger, I did that. Then I hit a period where I kind of let up on the mornings a little bit. I think. I don't know. I didn't feel as strongly
I don't
about them.
remember those days quite.
No, they're a blur. But anyways, having kids now and a wife that hunts,
Mhm.
she does not want to get up and hunt, for one.
Right.
For two,
So one of you might as well get up and
yeah, well, and that's, she thinks we're just gonna have breakfast and play patty cake all day. But I'm just gonna kill a buck in the morning, then we'll come home.
Patty cake.
I don't know what it is, but so I try and take advantage of the mornings because if I can hunt if she wants to hunt in the afternoon, we don't have a babysitter, I'll let her hunt. And I'm more than happy to do that. But I'm going to get up if it's raining. I just figure I'm going to hunt.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's October 14th and it's raining. I kind of want to hunt.
See, my thing is, like, I like that. But I used to be that way, like, when I was younger and I didn't know as much. I didn't have as much experience. I'm like, hey, if I'm in the tree, it's better than not, right?
And it is and it isn't. I get
But
it.
now I'm more analytical about it.
Yeah.
But when I'm out there, I have to have confidence in the situation that I'm
Right.
hunting, or else I can't focus properly, and then dumb shit happens. Like your mind is wandering and you miss something.
I'm not
or
going to see a
whatever,
deer.
You know? Yeah.
I'm not going to see a deer. Why am I even out here?
Yeah.
And
So,
you're not going to see
I
much
have-
like that a lot of times.
Over the years, I've developed that, and I think it comes from not having as much time to hunt. So I try to optimize my situations, and I think that's worked for me. But I
Yeah.
can't hunt. I have a hard time hunting December 4th in the morning during gun season, on
Yeah.
the third weekend of gun season, on a Sunday morning, when it's not like it used to be where guys are out there pushing deer around.
Yeah.
Like, I have that mental block where you're just like, F it. I'm getting up in the morning and I'm going hunting. And if
Yeah.
I don't kill nothing, I'll come home and have breakfast with my kids or whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And I agree with I want to hunt the best times, and I don't want to wear myself and my family out on the bad times
And your spots.
and my spots. But at some point, I kind of just need to go hunting.
And it also goes to what I said too
Can't
about
count
you know-
out if you're not out.
if the situation's
right.
not right, don't push the
No, and I
Don't
don't want to
push the
sit the
limits.
wrong wind.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if it's got to be a west and it's a west-northwest, and that could be pushing it. Sometimes that's a good push, and, it could be good or bad. But, so the situation was Slick Willie coming home. He's like, hey, hunting shitty out. Let's go. Let's get out there. We could barely hang on to those freaking trees. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was one of those days where
remember that day.
you probably don't want to be
wasn't
in a
hunting.
tree. And it was like last dark. Here comes this buck right between.
It was probably 15 minutes. There was light, but it was just such a dark day.
Yeah, it was.
it's
So it was like
spitting-
one of those days where the clouds were black and it looked like it
Yeah.
was just gonna spit
just these
snow.
wicked
And
fronts were blowing through.
And you guys are hunting in heavy cover back there.
yeah,
We're
it's
in
all-
hemlocks.
it's all
hemlock
hemlocks,
trees.
yeah.
so coming right between us, and we're 80 yards apart.
Yeah. And I've never hunted back there with you guys. And so I don't know where you are. I just know you're near me. So that adds to the whole story, too. Because I'm like, I think Brian's over that way, but I don't know how far.
So he's coming right, split in the middle between me and Billy. And I'm ranging a couple trees. I get the first range at 35. And he must have caught me drawn behind a 8-inch tree.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
And all I could see was his neck. His leg, shoulder was behind that tree. So I was at full draw. He's about 35 yards. Looks like a pretty decent buck. I don't really know, but it doesn't really matter. It looks like he's a shooter.
Yeah.
So I full draw, lean out on my tether as far as I feel comfortable.
Now, hold on. Hit pause right there. So at the same time, I'm full draw, okay? Looking at the same deer.
At
And
45
I'm
yards
like,
or
is he, I'm
40, 45, because
Yeah.
we're about 75, 80
so I'm
yards
trying
apart.
to pick a spot, and I've never shot. I've never shot a buck with my bow, so I'm shitting my knickers. I've shot at lots of bucks with my bow, but I've never shot a buck with my bow. So I'm full draw. Wind's freaking blowing in
Yeah,
here
it's
all over
blowing
the tree.
the tree stand around, yeah.
You can't hear nothing because it's so loud. And okay, hit play.
So I lean out as far as I can. I shade my pin on the edge of. I got it to about where I could see about the back edge of his shoulder. Into his lungs, and I just give it that little extra. Shaded the pin right about an inch to the right of the tree, and figured I'd be right in the. If I didn't hit the tree, I would
Right where you want to be.
double lung him. Whack! And I got that tree. I was about 2 inches left of, 2-3 inches
Okay,
left
so
of.
hit the pause button. So this deer is straight downwind.
Of you. Yeah.
Of me.
Yeah, your wind's
So
blowing
the
right to
deer
me.
had stopped there in the spot where Brian shot at him. The deer stops there, and he's just a statue for.
It was.
It seemed like forever, but it was maybe a minute. And all of a sudden, I'm full draw, and the deer just jumps, like freaks out and jumps in the air. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, what's going on? And the deer runs like 5 yards. It didn't go that far.
He went closer to you.
He came closer to me. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm still full draw. And I'm like trying to figure it out, you know. And okay, push play. Your turn.
So he does a loop, about a 10-yard, 15-yard loop, closer to Billy. Comes into the same, and I'm just everything I just got another
reload.
arrow, yeah, like Rambo. I just pulled another arrow out of my imaginary quiver in my back. I threw another arrow on. I figured he was about 50. I drew. He stopped in that opening. Perfect. And I let one rip, and he just donkey kicked.
And I'm just about ready to touch the trigger, and all of a sudden this deer just runs.
And he was just
I'm like, what happened?
looked like I heart
So I
shot
let
him
my
with
bow down, and my phone starts buzzing, and it's like I just shot a huge buck. I'm like, was it the huge buck I was just about to shoot at? Sure as shit, Brian shot the buck right up underneath me, which I probably wouldn't have hit it anyway. But
So I missed him at 35, hit the tree.
yeah,
And then he went to about 50. It was right around 50. I shot him for,
into the wind, into the gale
it was
force
just,
wind.
and I freaking 10 ringed him.
You did. That blood trail was
It went right
awesome.
through the back of both shoulders. It was a pass through. And so that was, you put everything in your backpack. I don't even know if you were really safety belting it at that time.
I wasn't a big harness guy at that point.
So I texted him. I think I just slammed a good one, and I don't even know, but just the way, because I didn't see my arrow, I didn't have a lighted knock. The way he donkey kicked and he ran just with those.
Oh yeah.
His front end was down about a half a foot, and it's like I think he hit every tree going through there. So it's like, and it was loud. I could hear that,
Yeah.
and then it just stopped in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I just crushed him. So, all right, let's give him a couple minutes and get out. Well, by the time I got my shit out, Slicky's already.
I paratrooped out of the
Yeah,
tree.
he
I'm
like. So I throw my shit down, get over there, and we're looking quick. I'm like, he was right about here. We can see that huge hunk of frickin'.
where he started digging.
Yeah, leaves up, and it's like, oh, there's a speck of blood. Oh, it's 3 foot wide. By about 5 yards into it, it was about 3 foot wide, and it was a couple foot up the trees, and the arrow was laying there covered in blood, and it's like, oh, I think he's dead.
Yeah, he's gonna be up there. And he didn't go far.
So do you think on that first shot, when the deer, so he smelled Billy, or he had some idea that was there. So
I
then,
don't know, because
do you think he could have heard the arrow coming from the opposite direction of where he thought danger was, and that fucked him up? Like he didn't know.
he had no idea. I think
I just heard the tree crack. I
wind-
think.
For sure, the
Heard
wind.
that oak tree go.
The wind. The wind messes him up.
Well,
that hard wind.
yeah.
It definitely, because they can't really.
so. I think he either seen me draw or smelled Billy, but when the wind is so hard like that, once in a while they get a little whiff, but they're not sure.
Yeah.
So if they stop to get a second whiff, they don't smell it because the wind isn't.
The noise of the wind messes him up too.
Oh
even.
yeah. So I don't know. He heard something. He wasn't sure. He did run further away from me. I don't know, but he was very confused, and I've found that deer get very confused when it's raining hard, windy.
Yeah. Oh, they do. That's why in general they don't move as much, I think.
But on November
Yeah.
12th,
And it was
sometimes they.
it was right before sundown too.
Yeah, and he was just kind of on a line.
Yeah, so that's the trigger strategy. So
Just get a
Fun
good buddy
story.
and shoot the deer out
the
from under
first,
him.
we've been doing that forever. The first 2 bucks that Brian ever shot, I saw the deer after he shot them.
Is that right?
I don't know if we got time for first buck stories.
I mean,
tonight,
I have
but
no. I mean, the beers are flowing. I'm feeling good, so I don't really care. You can go drain your fluids if you need to, Trigger. Yeah. So I do want to hit like on a couple of the questions that we've kind of already talked a little bit about, but
yeah, go for it.
my buddy, so my cousin David and his friend Lewis, they had some questions for us, and we kind of already answered. I think we kind of already answered one of them, but I want to readdress them. So the one question David had was, if this time of year you're getting a lot of pictures of does, what does that tell you? And I guess my answer to that is that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
If you're irregardless, if you're getting pictures of does,
That's not a word. Don't use it.
Irregardless.
Yeah.
Either or.
Regardless.
Regardless.
That's all it is. Yeah.
It's not irregardless.
No, that's not a word.
Are you sure? Well, neither is Pertnear, but
I was gonna say the whole.
Yeah.
no, our whole brand is built off of something that's not a word.
I thought maybe somebody told you not to say irregardless anymore because you were saying it a lot in the early times, and
Really?
I hadn't heard it in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It drives my wife crazy
When I say it.
when anybody says it.
Okay. Well,
But I don't-
tell her now. I'm gonna say
it's
it.
not
I was
just-
gonna say we will
Honestly-
now say it in front of her.
Honestly, it's not just me, but I will say it, or I mean, it's not just her. It kind of bugs me too, but I do say it in front of her just to fuck with her sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah. Well,
It's-
that's Dallas.
honestly, I tell you, there's a
Oh, Dallas, I appreciate you.
there's a
telling
thing
me
out
that.
there like people.
Is that a
I
word?
appreciate you.
There's a legitimate like a pet peeve out there of people who cannot stand when you say irregardless.
Okay. So regardless
Yeah.
of what you're getting, if you're getting deer on camera, and right now, let's take our property in Naples for example. I'm getting almost all summer we get pictures of does.
Mhm.
That's great.
That is good, I think. Yeah.
Because come the time when you are really your best chance to get a buck during the rut and when they're seeking during that late October, most of November period. Like if you've got does there's going to be bucks there.
Yeah.
And the does are, especially if you see does with fawns, like that's a core living area. Like that's where they are. So like that's my answer to that. I think that was.
Well, I'll address the other side of that.
Yeah.
So if I think especially where you're hunting up there, it's kind of like big woods, hill country. At least right in that little area it is. There's a lot of ag around there, I think, too.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, when you're in big wood situations like that, I would love to see a lot of does. And, of course, anywhere you're hunting, you want to see deer, right? But, like, if you go to, like, ag country around here, the other side of that is you don't want to create a doe factory on your property. Because every time you go to hunt, you're going to be bumping does and rut can be good because the bucks are going to come in there seeking, but you got to have that somewhat balanced ratio of buck to does when it comes to the fall. So I think the question was more in the summer, but seeing a lot of does on your camera in the summer, it's generally probably good, but there is a point where you have to look at it and say, okay, I got too many does. I need to start eliminating some of these, or at least look at it and see if they're moving out. I don't think does really shift around all that much.
No.
But there definitely is a point where you're going to have too many does, and that can be the availability of food, cover, bedding, and it can just be. They make it hard to hunt. So if you go in there in October and you still have a ton of does living everywhere on your property, it makes it, you should invite Trigger over.
And he'll take
clear
care
it
of
out.
your problem.
He can help you with that, but it can
Yes.
be a real nuisance
Yeah.
if you have too many of them.
Yeah.
I actually think that's part of the problem.
I
where
think so
am
too.
hunting.
Yeah, if you look at you've been hunting for 4 years,
Mhm.
and how many does have you shot?
3, 4.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
which is
You're
great for you, but
you're making me
numbers
proud.
wise, like
You're not
you
really
need to
making
shoot like 6 does off of that property to
A year.
a year. Yeah, we just need to do
This
that.
year.
Yeah,
This year's the
this
year.
year's the year to do it.
All right.
But like that's a great point, Dallas. Is that and I think there's been a lot of people that have learned from that it's very important to shoot does. It's great to have does, but there's a balance. Like you gotta shoot does. You can't just say, well, we don't shoot does because there's not as many deer around as there used to be. It's like there's enough deer. You need to keep it balanced.
Yeah, so the DEC, like everyone says, there's not as many deer as there used to be. There's not enough deer. The DEC took out too many deer. No, what they did was they gave out the proper amount of permits because they were doing their job. I mean, I know in certain areas it might not always be
Grab
true
another
because
pack.
it can be tough the way they split up the zones or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I think
but they're trying to get a more balanced ratio and trying to have a healthy amount of deer population. It's like we talk about the same thing in Pennsylvania, how they put the APRs in, and then they handed out all those doe permits so that we could weed out the does and make it a more balanced ratio, a more healthy population, food available to all the deer. That's the same thing we need to be doing here.
Yeah.
It's just, it might not be as critical as it is in those big wood situations, but
You have to
definitely-
shoot them. And there's nothing that
Yeah.
irritates me more than hearing people
Yeah.
say, I don't shoot does, we don't shoot does.
Yeah, you can never say that as a rule.
It's like,
if you
why?
if you have an honest
You're
assessment,
not going to get the most out of your bucks if you just because there's only so much food, there's only so much.
do an honest assessment of the area that you're hunting, though. If there's truly not that many does, then it's probably smart to exercise caution. But don't do it just because you think that you're going to see more bucks during the rut or whatever, and maybe you will for those few days. But when those bucks move in there, and there's a bunch of does waiting for bucks to come in there, they're not going to be running all over that property looking for does because they're going to have
They don't
an easy
have
time
to.
coming in there and finding a doe.
Competition's a good thing when it comes to trying to
Competition's
shoot
a
a buck.
very good thing.
Now, I have the same problem, though. I love shooting does. Anybody that
Is
knows
that
me?
right?
Yeah.
Just does?
I never knew that about you.
I like shooting does. So anyways, but as I'm shooting
That's
them
why we
early
call you
season,
Trigger.
I do have that same feeling as other people do that, well, if I'm shooting that doe, she's not going into heat. I'm not going to get a chance to shoot a buck because that doe, so if that doe's still in that area going into heat and I want to hunt this area, shouldn't I have a better chance of seeing a buck because she's still around? But it's such an easy process. It's like a turkey. You think, how often do you see turkeys breeding? Well, it happens a lot, but they don't. The hens just come to them.
Yeah.
They don't have to go anywhere out of their way, really.
Right.
Same thing with does. When there's a bunch of them, there's no competition. There's so many does came into heat at the same time. It's great.
Yeah.
But even if there's 20 does, that means every yearling buck and
he gets his own doe.
he gets his own doe. They all get their own does.
Forrest gets his own doe.
Yeah.
You might get 4 does.
So
bottom line,
as hard as it is to think, if I got more does, that means more does in heat. That means more bucks. No. Maybe for a couple days, like you said, but they're not going to be moving because they're going to be just locked down for 3 days breeding them.
And like I say, do an assessment of how many. Like I've never really got the deer survey thing. I think that's tough to do. But a deer survey is when you're doing like Billy and driving around at night and glassing the roads and seeing how many deer are out there. That's how you can tell if you got too many does or not. The other side of Bear Road, when we were growing up, used to be hundreds of does out there in the winter because they never shot any over there.
Me and
they
Dad
used to be everywhere.
We shot a winter league in East Aurora at Leo's. It hasn't been there for a while, but
I was doing it before that, and it was the same deal. You go there right before dark in the winter, and every
100, 75 to 125.
From Folsomdale down to Marilla, you'd see 100+ does every
so
night.
from Folsomdale to East Blood.
Yeah.
And you're only seeing them in that first half, mostly.
Yeah.
So that's within like 2 miles, 2 to 3 miles from our property. You're seeing over 100 deer in those fields.
Yeah.
On that block of woods. It's not that big of a block. Kirsch has never shot does. So we have the same problem in Pavilion.
Play this video.
The neighbor, I talked to Molly's parents' land. The neighbor, they shoot quite a few bucks. They got 80 some acres. He's like, we don't shoot does. We never shoot does. The only does we shoot if they're wounded. And I'm just like, why?
They're also full of shit, though.
Well, they got a bunch of shit going on there. I don't know. But anyways, it's like, no wonder why I'm having such a problem.
Yeah.
Like, you guys laugh, and I have fun with it. I'm sending pictures of these 140-pound does. They're just slobs.
Yeah.
Do you understand what they do to a person in a tree stand?
35 or 40. It's right across from Folsomdale.
Oh. But you guys understand what a 5 or 6 year old doe does to you in a tree stand. They stand there. They will not leave.
Yeah.
They pick you apart. They remember that forever. And I don't know what they do. Do they teach that to there's something about
some
them.
kind of communication that
You
happens between
have
lineage
to get
there.
rid of them.
Yeah.
And I've been out there trying to just.
You've done well on our property, I feel.
So I think the bottom line there, the question is that I think seeing a lot of does is a good sign. It shows that your property is good, productive.
Habitat.
Yep.
The deer like to be there, but there definitely is a limit, and don't feel bad about taking a handful of them out of there. And in the early season, when those does have the 2 fawns with them, or in the late season when they have them with them,
Don't shoot them too.
Try not to shoot the little ones, but don't be the guy that says I don't think the fawns are going to make it through the winter, because you're just making an excuse for yourself not to shoot that doe. It's
now,
okay, they're fine.
So let's take this, as a new hunter, like that's when you see a doe with 2 yearlings.
Yeah.
Like
I don't mind if you
it's
feel
tough.
bad about it. I don't. If you feel bad
I have no
about it, and you
problem
don't
with
want to
that.
do it.
You're human.
I don't have
think.
a problem with it anymore.
Here's
but
what I
did
tell people.
before, until I started hanging out with Brian.
Yeah.
It changed my life.
I used to have a problem gauging the deer.
Yeah.
So
when there
here's-
was a doe with
that's the
2
best-
fawns.
that's
I
the
know
best way
she's
to
a
know.
good sized doe. I'm gonna.
Thank
take
you,
it.
AJ
When it was
Hunting.
2 fawns or just a fawn going out there.
There's
like,
a fawn's gonna die.
Yeah.
hunting 4 years, and that's how you rationalize it. That's how I rationalize it.
I did the same thing.
Okay, here's I've shot a lot of 95-pound does by themselves. That's hard to rationalize. They got it. You really have to look. I've shot some haven't
Which,
been that
for
big.
people
Some
that
have
don't
been
know,
bigger.
That's a 1.5-year-old doe.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a yearling half doe
90 to 100
that did
pound
not
does.
get bred
Yeah.
as a fawn,
Or the
which
fawns
was
just aren't
lucky.
with her or
Yep.
whatever.
Or they're
Yeah.
dead, or she got lucky and didn't get bred.
Or it's the rut and she's just cruising by herself. Yeah.
No, because
she didn't get lucky.
when
Or she got lucky and got lucky.
well, the
Probably
problem
more
is
healthy for them.
it's more healthy for them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the fawns are bigger. The does get big. So, but them are hard, and I've shot a lot of them.
Yeah.
But when they come in 1 fawn, 2 fawn, 3 fawn,
Yeah.
there's no thinking. You just draw back, and
And it's the
it
best way
doesn't
to
matter
know
if
that
she's
you're
90, 100, 110, 120, because you
wanna
know
take
she's
out-
an adult.
You want to
Yep.
take out adult does and more,
There's
even better
no
mature
second-
does.
There's no second thoughts in the back of your head. She's an adult. I'm looking for an adult doe. Yeah, I'd like to win $50 from her.
Yeah, we do we
But-
value shooting does. Like we do a doe contest because it's fun and it gets everybody out there and it gets you to want to shoot a big mature doe, But it all comes back around to that question. Don't be afraid to shoot does, and we on our property in
Public
Naples, public, like spread yourself out. I guess that's the one thing I've done over the last couple of years. Is there is no shortage of opportunity around Western New York and Central New York and all of New York, really. There's a lot of public land. So if you want to get out there, there's no better practice than shooting does. There's no better practice.
Yeah.
And do it early, but also be on the same page with the guys in your camp. Like our camp in Naples, I was telling somebody this yesterday, is that we'll have a year where we shoot 7-8 bucks and like 1 doe, and then the next year we shoot 7-8 does and 1 buck. It's like, so get that balance. And for me personally, I spend my time at camp, but I pick and choose what I shoot there because I have so many other opportunities of other places to shoot does or to shoot a buck, and so spread it out. Everybody has that opportunity. Regardless of what your situation is, you have a lot of places you can go hunt.
If you want to fill your freezer and you don't feel like some of the private places you're hunting really can support that doe harvest, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
If that's the thing, like too, with hunting public property is say you didn't put a lot of time scouting in there and find a mature buck that you can chase after there. Go there and shoot does.
Yeah.
You could probably especially gun season, if you get some snow, you can go and find some does.
Oh, it's a
I'm
ride.
sure you could do it.
Yeah.
And it's fun, yeah. Exactly.
We've had so much fun doing our doe days. Like, God, I just can't get enough of it. It's so much fun. But yeah, that's
set one up for PA.
we got PA doe tags. So that was one of the notes.
Can we get them anymore?
You might be able to.
I
They
think
actually
you can,
so AJ and I got D maps. So they're not the regular doe tags that you mail in
Rob
for.
told
They're
me he got them too.
Yeah. So you actually
one.
pick the hunt zone. So the zone that we hunt, AJ and I both selected that. So
Isn't that what they always are?
No.
no, you
Yeah, I
mail
always
in
assumed
for
that
the
was for residents.
I was
the
confused
region.
when I did it.
It was me too. I tried to right when their licenses went on sale, I went online to try to find my license and do the doe tag thing online because I was like, well, if I can do it online, it's better than mailing it in. And I kept putting our unit
2G or I don't know what
allegedly
we hunt.
whatever,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't even know
2G.
forever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I put that I put that in. I was, trying to be whatever, not like
Just
should we give them the GPS coordinates
just
too?
right now.
Yeah. Huh?
See, I've never seen you do that.
Yeah. Well, we're talking a
What, hold
lot,
back?
naming roads and everybody knows where the hell we are. Whatever.
We's
So-
in the fucking Pennsylvania mountains, bitch.
You can find us. You can hunt with us. That's how we'll roll. Yeah. Actually, the
Just
more the
don't-
merrier. That's how we do business in PA.
We've pretty clearly
Yeah.
adopted that strategy.
We're almost Amish at this point, I think.
I
need
like
some-
to keep some things, to ourselves around here.
Yeah, but down there, hey, if you're within the state lines,
We're hunting 9H here.
right. Yeah, that's a good.
If you want to meet us in 2G, right on it.
We'll be down there second week of rifle, first week of rifle.
First, we don't even know, do we?
We don't even know. What do you mean?
I don't know. Do you?
We know the
You
dates.
just
It's
named
the
them both.
Oh, we
second.
talked about this 10 days ago, and
Yeah.
it was still a mystery.
This
So
thing
anyway,
sucks.
we got DMAP tags, but for PA and
What
PA
unit?
has it's the unit area.
The same unit.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yes,
AJ.
triggered. So like that's something maybe that's been available in the past. I just never done it.
I don't know.
I don't
But-
think it was because I think I would have made
Yeah.
that mistake last year. Or 2
Right,
years ago.
I think so too. So AJ got 2 tags for that area.
Really?
Say what?
Yeah.
Can you sign them over like here?
Well, the deer whisperer won't have any issue finding them. It's just
Yeah.
whether or not he can figure out where the safety is
But
when that deer's standing 6 yards away.
Or the
staring
scope
at him.
caps?
Yeah.
it fogged up. It wasn't scope caps.
Well, I'm
I didn't
talking
have
about
it.
Elmer
Oh,
Fudd
him?
over here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a big buck. Oh, it's all black.
Perfect
Okay,
cross
put-
between Elmer Fudd and Big Bird.
Big Bird.
Black deer matter, Billy.
Yeah, black deer matter. Yeah. Just all look through the scope, and that's all I saw was black. Biggest buck I ever put my gun on, and he was bleeding too. God damn it.
Yeah, there's always next year.
Always next year. But that was one of the points I want to touch on is doe permits. So if you're a new hunter, there's great opportunity around New York State here to get, in any state really, there's doe permits. But here in New York, it's very easy to get them. You just put in for the lottery, and it starts as soon as the licenses go on sale. And I think I saw it's August 10th. You can buy your license, and doe permits, the first round of them will be available. So you can look at your area where you typically hunt, and it'll tell you whether it's a high probability on the first choice and what the probability is on the second choice. And, I know, Brian, you've had some rigmaroles with that in the past because 9H is always high.
Well, that's what I
and
want.
always.
You don't.
I want
not
to
always.
shoot.
Well, lately it has been, but
Yeah.
a lot of times it hasn't.
Well,
But-
me and Dels had a conversation a couple nights ago about how it was 21 years ago, and
Yeah.
But-
I mean, when I first started hunting, it was hard to get doe tags.
you couldn't get
Well,
one.
yeah, I think
But
it
the
was.
DEC woke up and realized we needed to. That was when the population was exploding, so they were maybe a few years behind. But they realized, holy crap, we need to get rid of a lot of these, and then they started handing out doe tags like candy, and
Yeah,
we
we
took
were just-
advantage of it. And
Oh,
that's we did take advantage of it.
How
but
many
that's,
you got?
But
Yeah.
that's when our bucks really started
But
to explode too. I
Finish
think,
saying
is
what
when
you
we-
want to say, Billy, and then we can talk for a minute
Was
about.
that so? Wherever you go and get your license, whether it's a town hall, I think they're going to a new online system, the decals system. I was reading a little bit about that, so there'll be probably some opportunities to do a lot of this stuff right online. You don't have to go.
And like
to
you
a
said,
town
there's a
hall.
map. It shows
And
you
there's a map, so
where you're hunting, what
each
unit it is.
unit that you hunt. So for me, I hunt 9H, 8N, 8H are the ones that I know. I can't believe
You
I'm
hunt
saying
8H?
this. I hunt 8H.
Son of a bitch.
I know.
I
You
knew
never
there
knew
was
this?
some goofy son of a bitch out there
Yeah,
screwing.
some big bird walking around shooting everybody's deer. So,
Alright.
see the areas that you're interested in hunting. But if you're somebody who's new to get in, like somebody like, yourself, AJ, or Danny, or even I got a couple buddies back in Rochester, look at some state land. If you don't have a whole lot of area, and maybe it's
Right.
one town over, there's a break between 8H and 8N. There's a lot of state land through there. Get yourself a doe tag and go walk around,
Right.
get opportunity, because it's just adding tags to your pocket
Yeah.
of comfortable and confidence that you can go into those areas and
Yeah.
have
And you could shoot a
opportunity.
buck there too if you wanted.
Right.
Because
you
your
can
buck
shoot a
tag's good for wherever.
Yeah, your buck tag's good for wherever.
And on November 1st, when they give out those leftover tags, go and look at and get some. There's always leftover tags, but they're only for certain areas. But if you're going to buy one,
8H, 8G.
make sure it's in an area that has some public land available, so that you actually have a place to go.
Right.
Yep.
And get those extra doe tags, and that gives you a free place to go. And like you guys said, if you have a buck tag still, then you can go and hunt those public properties and hunt for whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you could end up having a really good experience, and you might find a new place that you want to go and hunt.
Yeah.
Because I know some people, they hunt like the southern tier or the northern zone or something where you can't, there's just no tags, no does available, no tags. So you want to go somewhere else, but if you're going to go venture out, just before you get that tag and commit to it, make sure you got some public property that you can hunt.
Yep.
A good chunk of public, because there's going to be deer on it.
Yep.
You know?
And or get a bull muzzleloader. Get a muzzleloader
Get your tag for bull
Tag.
muzzleloader. Yep.
so you get an extra
Right.
Yeah.
bull muzzleloader antlerless.
Yep.
You know, if you don't buy that muzzleloader privilege, you
There's a
do
lot
not get that extra.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot
that's
of different
something
ways in
you
New
can
York
use
to get
wherever
a
also.
tag.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like you said, getting over into the Finger Lakes and through central New York, there's a ton of public land opportunities. And don't get discouraged when you see other people hunting those areas, especially on the big hunting days of the year, opening day,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, even during the rut. Don't get frustrated, because I've spent more time in the last few years on those pieces. And I know you two, Dallas, you have as well. And Brian, you started venturing around here locally. And it's like, people are hunting close to the trail. They're hunting close to the parking areas. If you're willing to put in a little extra effort and maybe find some of those tough to get to spots, like, there's opportunity, and there's a lot of deer in there. And like, when you find them, you're in them. Like,
Yeah.
there's a pile of them. So, yeah. What were you gonna say? I finished your.
Just talking about doe tags, like.
Yeah.
So, before I started hunting, Dale's, could you hunt 4 years before
Yeah.
me or 3?
Yeah, probably 4.
So, did
So when
you
I-
even have a doe tag?
No, I didn't get a doe tag until I was 17 years old, because when I was 16, you could get a tag, but you had to be, your birthday had to be before September 1st for some reason, and mine was the 7th. So I didn't get a doe tag until I was 17, and I didn't kill a doe until I was at least 19. I think 19 years old was the first time I killed a doe. And so, because there was no youth season back then, so I couldn't bow hunt till I was 14. I couldn't gun hunt till I was 16. So New York was and they're still far behind on the way they do things. I mean, there's no reason why, you can't now bow hunt until you're 12 with an adult, or gun hunt until you're 14 with an adult. It's just like most of these other states, like Pennsylvania and Ohio, they're saying just do whatever you want, just as long as you have a mentored adult with you, and I think they're doing a good job of tracking what's going on there. They're just
I've never heard of
they're
any
just
issues.
saying that if your kids are ready and you're going to supervise them and you're going to hold their hand through the whole process, that you can just go and do it. And
You have a kid that's ready?
Well,
and
she's mentally ready. She knows what to do, but she's not really ready to handle a gun or a bow yet.
Right.
But that's my decision to make.
But maybe a crossbow.
Well,
I mean, that have to be really.
I think if I wanted her to do it, she could be there. But
and I get that.
But I think that's my decision to make. If I wanted to wait another year or two.
Because how old is she? 9.
Well,
Or
no,
only 8?
she's 8, and she'll be 9, but not
9 in
until right
December.
after the season.
Yeah.
So, and eventually we will hunt Pennsylvania before we hunt New York, me and her. But it's a shame that we have to drive, and it's not far. It's a couple hours, but
is there an age limit in PA?
No.
Okay.
It's the same. Like last
It's a
week,
mentored youth.
We had Trey on the podcast last week, and he's like, I don't even think there's a rule in Mississippi,
Well, down there, there's probably even no mentored youth program.
No, he said, I'm pretty sure you can just go out on your own if you want to.
Yeah.
It's 7 years old. He shot his first buck.
Well, my first day of gun hunting and my first buck with a gun was in Pennsylvania, because their license was 12 down there, but that wasn't even a mentored youth thing. It was
it's just you can carry the biggest rifle you can carry and
I was
head up the mountain.
15 years old. My first day of hunting with a gun, I shot an 8-pointer with a 243.
That's awesome.
A bunch of times.
And I was goddamn happy.
Oh, yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But Maya thinks that, well, everything lately is when I'm 5. You know, I can sit next to you in the truck. I can,
Oh, really? 5 years old?
well, because I'm going to be big.
Oh, at 5.
Yeah.
And she's
When I'm-
almost 5.
Well, she's 4.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I'm 5, I'm going to be big so I can hunt and I can do this and that. And it's like, well, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
But not really.
Just keep. Then if once you're 5, then it's 6.
Yeah.
And, you know.
So, you know, if we can go to Pennsylvania and whack something.
Yeah, you can.
But no, she's.
Technically, if you wanted to right now, I think you could.
Yeah. But no, it's the same thing. Like, even if she, no matter how much she wanted to, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It would take a lot. It's going to be.
But it's up for you to make that decision as opposed to a law with an arbitrary age saying
Yeah.
it's okay for them
No,
to do
I
it.
think that's awesome. And we both have a girl that, you know, at least one that's going to.
And I think part of the reason they do that is because if you let them get older, they start to get other interests and they start to lose contact with that outdoor. That
I never
hunting
even
thing,
thought of
you know.
that. Yep.
You know, if like back when we were kids, we didn't have so much to do. So when we were 14, we were just dying to go out there and.
That's all I
bow.
wanted to do was
Yeah.
go.
And that was for us. We were raised that way, so we were going to be that way anyway. But you know, I had a lot of other interests when I was a kid. You know, I loved sports. I loved to do a lot of different things. And if I didn't, you know, I could have just.
Yeah.
Billy's walking off, but anyways,
Yeah.
it's. You know, now there's a lot more things to do, and you know, we had kind of an isolated life too. We lived on a farm, so we were like, hey, anything will be better than milking cows
Working.
again tonight. So you know, working our asses off every day. But I still think New York needs to make some more adjustments to that. You know, I just don't think that adding an arbitrary age to when your kids can start hunting under your supervision. Again, you have to be there with them and doing everything with them, but if they want to do it, just let them do it.
So, if they're interested in drinking before 21, should they be able to do it?
Oh, before 21, yes. But as far as a parent making a decision on that,
No, I know, and I'm, you know, it's just kind of a. I want what you're talking about more than anything, but I think I go back to Emma's gonna be 9, and if you're not 100% comfortable with her shooting a crossbow or something,
Yeah.
I mean, and she can shoot a BB gun or, you know.
But I'm going to be there next to her,
Absolutely.
helping her through the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know,
If you're in a blind with the crossbow set up on a nice stick or something, I mean, I guess it's something that you have to be comfortable with.
and the kid will tell you.
So
if they're
does she
ready,
too. Yes.
That they'll, and even if they say they want to do it, when they go out there and try to do it, they're going to end up telling you. At the moment of truth comes, they're going to tell you if they're ready to do it or not.
I don't want to shoot it. Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's
So,
watch it. We'll
I think
get you-
those are
I'll
decisions
take a picture.
for the family to make,
Right.
as opposed for the state to make.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just.
What else you got, Slick?
Well, are you on a timeline? Are you in a rush?
No.
Okay. I just, I sense a little, anxiety over there.
You
You're
do?
right. No. I mean.
Why, is this
everybody's
drink
going-
empty?
Everybody's going pee a lot. So, ooh, that sounds pretty empty.
I only went once.
He's getting anxious.
Actually, I
I
kind
could-
of wanted to.
You know me, I could talk all night.
Well, I'm. This is where I live, and I
Yeah.
don't want to go to sleep. So, but I'm curious from you actually, AJ, like, because we were just talking about like when you're ready to kill, and you're somebody who came into this like super late. Like you didn't grow up around hunting. You had no experience.
You
with
did
any
grow
of
up
this
on the
stuff.
farm.
I mean, you grew up on a
Yeah,
farm. You
but
saw
nobody
animals
hunted
and
on
the
the farm.
process of
Yeah.
that.
No,
but-
occasional woodchuck hunting is all that was done.
Yeah.
That's
It's like what was that? In your first deer was a buck, right?
Sure. Yeah, it was a spike, right?
That's a buck. I don't, doesn't
No,
matter.
that was he had a few
Like a
points.
4-point.
4 or 5 pointer.
Don't sell yourself short.
Come on,
AJ.
AJ.
All right. I'll
That,
go
that
with
was
it.
that was your first year of hunting too, right?
Have a
Yeah.
sip of beer.
Yeah,
So I mean, what was that for you? What was that? What's this whole process been for you? Because I guess we haven't really talked about that.
Because we all grew up with it. It
Yeah.
was like
It's just a
10
way of
years
life.
before we could do it. It was like, yes, I'm going to do that. I can't wait to do it. It's
Like
gonna,
Maya.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
when I'm
it's-
5, I can do it.
Took the clothes off the deer. Yeah.
I think it's the same with with me is that you guys are talking. I've wanted to do this 10 years before I actually went and took the courses to do it. I just never had enough guts to do it.
But your dad and
I remember you
Larry
saying that, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, if I'd only known that,
Right.
we'd have been there for you, you know?
Yeah, and then I realize that now, but it's like, yeah. So 4 years ago, and started hanging out with you guys a little more. Like, yeah, I'll just take the class, and after I take the class, I'm sure you guys will teach me what I need to know. And that's kind of what I did. So I just took the class,
and you kind of.
But you were able to go right out there and actually harvest an animal right away too. I mean, that was.
Yeah, but
I mean
it's kind of
not the first time out, but you did good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of my
Would
mentality.
you quit being
I
so
go
goddamn modest? Like this, like you've
just
been
the way
hunting.
he is.
I know
That's
it is,
just
but you've been hunting for 4 years and you've shot deer every year, and that's really impressive. I mean, you did that on your own. It wasn't like we were sitting in the stand with you, telling you what to do.
No, we talked a little.
We talked
bit,
a lot.
Like,
We spent time together.
But
we
again,
helped
it
set
goes
up
back to what I
stands,
was saying. I was starting to hang out with you guys, so I'm starting to see what you guys are doing. I mean, you guys don't realize what I'm picking up on.
Right.
It's just sitting here listening to you guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
when you're quiet
the same
drinking
way as
beer,
that.
that's what you're doing.
I'm taking notes over here.
The
So you
kids
got to
are
shoot
picking
the
up on
deer.
stuff
Yeah.
the same way too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Probably ought to.
the first deer, the adrenaline. I didn't think I would have the adrenaline that I had.
Yeah, there's no way you can replicate that
No.
until that deer walks in front of you, and you're ready to
And unsure of,
take that animal's life.
like you were saying before, the whole story of being unsure if you hit the deer, like second guessing yourself after. Yeah. So.
Molly was taking pictures while I was shooting, but I was shooting off that, and they were like,
it's a lot of fun watching the kids grow up around it and getting them involved at an early age, and but that's what I'm really enjoying about doing this podcast. And right now I know there's a lot of new hunters coming in. There's a lot of people like our age that are getting into it for the first time, and I've got several personal friends of mine that are finally taking their hunter safety course and finally getting into it. And it's been a lot of fun. Like, I remember the first trip you went on with us to PA. Like, I've never seen an individual so damn happy as I saw you. Number one, you had 2 kids at home, and you just needed to get the hell out of the house. And number 2, like, you just were, like, I said to Sarah when I came out, like, I've never
Unlimited
seen
beer.
somebody. Yeah. That nobody told you when to go to bed or anything.
The best.
"Did you have 14 or 17?"
the best, I think,
You
was
smell like alcohol.
was Dallas's Ric Flair. After you got the buck, I was hearing that echo through the PA woods. I'm like,
I
"Oh,
was
this is-"
3 miles away.
That wasn't the first year, but
Was it? No, I'm pretty.
no. But
Who
still,
did that? Who? Since somebody mimicked you the first year.
no, we didn't kill a deer that first year. You
Yeah,
saw
we
that
didn't.
You had the bear come by you.
Yeah, that was the year you
Oh,
almost shit
Bob-
your
But it
pants.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You were when the
Bob-
second year
it
you
was the
went
second year.
when you were up on top of that ridge.
The bear?
Yeah.
Can I shoot?
Can I shoot a bear?
No!
That's a negative.
Negative on the bear.
Damn.
But yeah, that was the most echoing Uncle Rick that I ever did was when that
Big
freaking gully.
I wasn't
erupted with
3
deer
miles
just running
away,
everywhere.
but I was.
It was amazing.
It took a long time to get there.
I'll just say that.
He didn't know whether it was a Sasquatch or maybe Dallas.
Well, I knew. And I'm like, yeah.
Where have we seen this before?
Well, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the day.
I
I'm
gotta
packed.
leave all my stuff up here.
Yeah,
it's
well.
gonna be heavy coming out.
I'll tell you what, and this is, I'm always telling people about how you got to pack deer out, but when you shot a deer first thing that morning, and we packed that deer, and I hit a hind quarter.
Immediately.
Billy.
Last year or 2 years ago?
Both
Because
years.
It was the first year.
Both, but last year you guys brought
Who's
the deer
counting?
back to the truck, but 2 years ago, we had a double hunt planted in the morning where we were gonna.
It was an all-day
We were
hunt.
gonna do that hunt and then regroup and do this other one. So, you killed that buck, and we went down there and butchered it. And I had a hind quarter in my backpack, and I went like 2 miles from there on the flat, and then climbed up that side hill, and then that whole freaking pack of deer came by, and I killed that freaking.
That's probably the biggest buck we've taken out of PA yet.
Yeah, it is. It was a Pennsylvania monster.
It was.
Even though it wasn't that big, but
That
I mean,
was a pretty good buck.
was a
though.
it
good
looked
buck.
freaking huge. I
Yeah.
mean, it looked like a mule deer because he was following this doe. He had his head down behind him, so his horns were, his tines were pointing forward.
He kind of had some curl to
It
him.
looked like a mule deer, and some of the people that I sent the picture to afterwards said the same thing. It looks
Yeah.
like a muley.
He was kind of spindly. He wasn't super heavy.
Yeah, he had no mass to him, but he was over 20 inches wide.
He had to be a 4-year-old though.
At least, yeah, I would think. I
He
don't
had
know.
good twos.
God, there was a lot of deer in there that
What
year.
was he, 120 though?
Yeah, he had a broken brow tine, so if he was like 118, he would have had 120 without that broken brow
Yeah.
tine. But I shot him through the jugular, and he pumped blood everywhere.
Oh, it was
awesome.
unbelievable.
Snow and
Yeah.
yeah.
Where have we seen this before?
That's right. Well, hunting with
And-
me in Pennsylvania, that's
Yeah,
where
I
you've seen
know.
that before. But so when I shot that deer though, I had your hind quarter in my backpack, and I killed that
Going
deer.
straight up the mountain.
So that right there is the reason why, and it's not the only time that's happened, but that
No.
right there was the time where I was like, where I tell everybody, I'm like, if you don't pack your deer out and keep hunting, if you're hunting in a group, I mean, obviously if there's 2 or 3 of you, your day's over, but I'm like, but we've done that before, even kept hunting with 3 of us, but I'm
Yeah.
like, that's
hard.
like those deer would have never been, if you were the person that shot that deer down in the bottom of
the
that
bottom
ravine
of the
where
bottom
you shot
the bottom.
Of Brad's Mountain.
you couldn't go much.
Bradsville.
You could go a little bit lower than where you were, but not much.
No. I was
And
in
if-
the
Well, you had to
If-
go back through the bottom
if there was-
get back up the other side. So
If 8 of us would have had to take turns dragging that whole thing out of
Jesus,
there,
man,
it would have
All
taken
day.
us all day. And by the time we got up there, it probably would have been 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But half of us wouldn't even want to go hunting.
the ninth
anymore.
person would have had to run up to get the 30 pack to bring it back down just to make sure
Just
we
to
could make
hydrate.
it.
Right.
Where in the meantime, we quartered that deer out, packed it up, and it was still only like 10 in the morning when we started hunting again.
Right.
I killed that deer at like 1 in the afternoon. I mean, we were drinking bush at 3:30, and we had 3 dead bucks.
Yeah.
And
we
I
had
had
another really nice buck
Yeah.
up there too.
Right.
So can we do an educational video on how to quarter a deer
Dallas
hole
and I
in
have
the
been
field?
talking about that.
Yeah,
The best is I just want to randomly, without Tard knowing, take a video of him
Yes,
doing it.
right. Of the
Because
machine.
Tard is
Hack him.
a man of.
he was
we-
all out of sorts last
He's
year.
a
'cause
man
his
of
knife
meat.
was dull. He couldn't. He's
I
like,
know.
Dallas, you're gonna have to just do this. My
him
knife
and,
is all dull.
him and Mike became best friends immediately. We have to get Tard a hatchet with his name engraved
Yeah.
on it
Yeah.
for this year.
So when we
Good idea.
Yeah.
we went to
Can we
cut the, we
Get
went to
together.
Yeah, we can do that.
we went
as a
to
group?
cut the legs off my deer, and we realized we didn't have a bone saw, and so Tard's like, "Oh, just use my what kind of knife does he have?"
Well,
He's
it's,
got
a,
a
it's a nice,
serrated
but it's
blade.
got that
Cutco.
serrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, just take the serrated blade and cut it. So I started, and I'm like, no, this ain't gonna work. And all of a sudden, Hatchet goes, oh wait. He grabs his hatchet, Tard rips that thing out, and just goes,
All 4 legs gone.
yeah, just knocks off 4 legs, just bone shattering everywhere. I might have got some in my eye. It was
Well,
ugly.
Brad
but-
got some in his eye.
Oh,
On
that
one
was-
of them. On one of them, not on that first one though.
Oh,
I don't
Brad.
think-
So we ended up knocking the legs off of 3 or 4 deer with that hatchet. But now John had that PVC cutter, the
Yeah,
wire
and that's
cutter.
pretty cool too.
Now I bought one too. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but
I got a
That was
hatchet,
slick. That was
15
really
ounces.
slick.
yeah. So
We used that on the one.
I'm carrying that everywhere I go from now on because the thing doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah. No, it is. They are sweet.
But I do plan on doing a video on
Let's do
actually
a raw one.
quartering up a deer.
Opening day.
Hmm?
Opening day, I'll have the hatchet, and then we'll quarter one.
We just gotta be around Brian for the first half hour.
Yeah.
We can get
Nice.
the video done and over with.
I'm thinking sometime in bow season, like early
That's what I'm
bow, somebody
thinking.
will kill a doe.
Yeah.
We can actually bring it back to the shop and put it on
Ungutted.
the table
If you can get them quick, just leave it
Yeah.
ungutted.
and just put it on a table with some good lighting where we can see, and we'll actually do one because a lot of people ask me about it.
Yeah.
Because every time I talk about these hunts that we do, they're like, "Well, how do you get them out of there?" I'm like, "Oh, we quarter them." Or somebody
do
tells
that?
me, "Well, I won't hunt there because I can't. I don't know how.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
a
get deer
nightmare
out of
to
there."
hunt there, yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, you got to quarter them." So I just constantly people asking me like, "Well, how do you do that?" Well, I think we need to provide this education.
And there's a ton of resources on. Obviously, you go on YouTube and search how to quarter,
Google.
but it's not Pertnear Outdoors.
No, it's
so
not
just
Pertnear
hold
Outdoors.
with us. We'll get
There-
some
I
production.
guarantee you, none of those videos will have a bush beer at the side
No,
of that deer.
we don't have sponsors,
Or
so we don't
10
have
of
to
them
care.
if it's a buck.
Yeah.
But that's what I tell people too. We just quarter them and they're like, really? Huh.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
It's the way to do it.
And
One
it's
of our
like,
best secrets to success, no doubt, as a group, the way we can do that.
Yeah.
but everybody's like, how do you do it? I go, well, just start at the neck or the tail, split them up the back when they're on their side, skin it down towards their feet on one side,
Yeah.
rip
Like,
the
think
quarters
about-
off.
Think about the days that we've done, like the day we had in Letchworth a few years ago, where we shot five in
or
one
so.
hunt, right? And that we were back to the.
We
truck.
got 3 in the morning and then 2
Okay,
in the
then I
afternoon.
shot the one in the afternoon. That one was small enough to actually put. I strapped it to my backpack.
But I
and
quartered
carried it.
4 of those deer.
So the first 3 were right away. Well, Tard quartered the one by himself. Me, Dallas,
And
Jim.
We went
Yeah,
down.
you
to the
guys
bottom.
rappelled
got
down
the one, then
We-
went back,
we
got
literally
the other one of
rappelled.
Dallas's. Then Dallas shot one midday. Me and him just hacked and
But
stacked
you could,
and weed
but you
whacked
could
it.
never do with a group of people what we did. You couldn't do it if you were dragging deer.
No,
You know?
never.
So I mean, not to belabor that point, but it's just, educate yourself on that, and it's an incredible asset and tool
Yeah.
to have in your toolbox when it comes to hunting season.
So Dallas shot a nice doe, 105.
I shot 2 big ones.
Yeah, they're probably
The morning,
105
one
or
in the
10.
afternoon was bigger, but yeah.
So me and you hacked her up. It was a half hour. We were pretty slow. The day was pretty long by then. We were a little tired. We had a sip or 2, quartered her, threw her in our backpack, and we hunted a little more.
Yeah.
And that was a big doe that me and you split, and that's nothing.
Yeah, we just kept hunting.
That's nothing. A big doe. I mean, we left the bone in, and that's only. What do you think with the bone in on a doe? 60 pounds total? 50?
Yeah, I mean, the bone doesn't add that much to it.
Probably, 50 to 60 pounds.
So, I mean, 30 pounds a piece at most.
Right.
It's not like you're.
And I like you guys bust my balls, but I'm a big fan of leaving the bone in because I just think it makes it easier to. It's not that much more weight, and I think it's.
Well, we all
easier
leave
to-
the bone in. You're just talking about the top end of
Yeah.
the hoof.
Well, I just think it looks cool too. Like if you're
Yeah.
walking out and you got a leg.
And
like
that's fine. I
3
just.
feet above your
You're,
head.
the best
How about just
selfies
a
are
hoof?
taken with a hoof sticking
That's
over
right.
the back of your
How about
shoulder.
just a
I'm all
hoof?
about the gram.
Yeah.
You know, that's-
There's only
Hatchet.
one person in our 14-person hunting group that takes selfies with hoofs sticking out.
no,
back.
Danny does.
All right,
Danny
well,
does.
But
But he's not
anyways,
here to defend himself,
it
so
de-
we won't pick on him too much.
We just
He
whack him
smells
off.
bad.
He's
Huh?
We just whack them off. It depends where you are. If you're 7 miles back in the mountains
whack what off?
of anything.
Anything.
Anything you got. If you got it, whack it off.
Oh shit.
But
So
keep
we
the meat.
so that whole discussion started around does and doe tags. So
Alright,
get your doe tags. So you
what
can
do we
go
got
have
next?
fun. What we got next? Putting trail cameras up on public land.
I've
That
done
was
it.
a question Nate Kennedy had, and
Me and Brian have
Big
done it.
Nate.
You've done it. Right?
I've done. I do it currently.
I have a good one for the month of July.
Okay, go ahead.
So, camera was out. I checked it. I put it in June sometime. Let it go a week or 2. Checked it. Had quite a few deer on it. Changed the card. Now, it's a camera that I'm not that worried about.
Somebody taking it or whatever.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I hope nobody does, but if they do, I'm not going to lose sleep. So, a lot of deer on it. Pretty excited. Only a couple little bucks. Put the new card in it. I couldn't get out there, couldn't get out there, couldn't get out there. So, it was pretty much the month of July. So, I left. Well, I'm working from home, but I clocked out an hour early. Me and the dog go out. Pretty excited to check the card. I walk in, some goofy things, a lot of tractor tracks, truck tracks, trailer tracks. It's kind of like they brush hog this path. And they go down with the side by sides. It's like a gas line, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they do there.
Where you and I were last year.
Accidental chemical.
Roger.
I don't know what they do.
I don't. It's
I'm not sure if they want anybody to know what they
I
do.
don't think they know what anybody wants. Yeah.
So anywho, it's all just tire marks, a lot of them, odd. Well, then I see a 20-foot pit with some pipes sticking out of it. They're like 10, 12-inch pipes. Like, yeah, it must be a gas line or something that they're fixing. So I walk the rest of the way to where I want to check my camera, and it just looked like tractors, trucks, trailers have been through there. So they got the flood black, like, fabric up.
Yeah.
Each
Yep.
side of that, like silk fabric or whatever
Silk
they're.
fence. Yep.
So, walk all the way in. Check my camera. It's on a good trail. 414 pictures. I'm like, and it's still there. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Double win.
Double win, lots of pictures. Put a new card in it. I'm whistling Dixie. Me and the dog took about a 40-minute walk around there, checked some stuff out. I got some, I already knew where I had a stand, would put a stand, whatever. Leave, I get home. I can't wait to look at the camera. Boy, man, they had this beautiful John Deere excavator. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell the number.
Yeah.
It was a big one.
So all you saw was the bucket.
It was right in front of your camera.
No, but it was. So I'm looking at this trail that's like 3 yards away from my camera. I got good pictures on it the first time. Well, the day I left the camera, they ran an entire new gas line or whatever pipeline they're putting in there. So from like July 6th to July 29th in the afternoon, they worked all day, every day on that trail.
Oh my God.
That was, now my camera wasn't watching that trail. It was watching the deer trail that crossed it. And it was like 20 yards from.
So you're picking up the movement.
Oh yeah, man, a lot of nice John Deere excavators, and they had.
You should give me those pictures, Bill Dan.
I deleted them. I deleted them all. They had stacks of blue
like,
pipe.
Bill, let's look at these pictures.
I'm just like, so July 29th at 5 in the morning, I had a deer, and they finished at July 29th, 1 in the afternoon.
Huh.
So one deer scooted through there while they were doing all that.
Time. Yeah. What a bummer.
So you suck at hanging trail.
Yeah.
cameras.
So that was that's.
But I'm worried about losing cameras. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm worried
I think
about
that's
all
what
that.
everybody's concern is with putting a camera on
Just
public land.
put a camera.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So do you use any locks or anything?
No.
I do.
Back up. So the guy running the I wish I knew which size excavator it was because, and that's important.
Is it big?
It was a pretty big John Deere excavator.
Okay.
So one day he got out and walked right down the deer trail past my camera, and about 5 minutes later he came back through. He didn't take my camera. He didn't probably see my camera.
Yeah. Maybe he was just an upstanding citizen.
I think he
I
was,
think it's only deer hunters that are gonna steal a camera though.
he had to take a shit so bad that I don't think he was like on. You ever see me walking on a trail camera?
Yeah, I've seen you. Yeah.
Well,
But
that's
on the way back though. He still had to take a shit on the way back.
yeah, but he didn't see the camera on the way back because it was
What, did he
facing
have
the other way.
Did he have his shit tickets in his hand? And he
Well,
was,
and I found shit tickets when I walked down the creek because I tried to cross it and I did.
yeah.
So I cross on this dam, this log jam,
Yeah.
You need to get a pair of hip waders. To get
and I'm
across
going
that.
to.
Yeah.
But so I got
Or
it's
just take 2 contractor bags and put them over your legs.
it's me and the dog.
Hip
So-
waders.
I'm like, no big deal. I'm just gonna cross on my log jam. Well, the problem is, do you think I could get the goddamn dog swam back and forth across that creek a dozen times? But when I got halfway across that log jam, she was coming, and I'm like, she's gonna die. Like I don't want to kill my,
Your dog that's tried to kill
Go
herself
back,
100
yeah.
times.
Yeah, that dog's not dead yet. I don't think that creek's gonna kill her.
the creek's not. But going across that log jam, like her feet are gonna go right through
Oh
something,
yeah, when we meet,
and she's gonna like.
I crossed that for the first time. Brian's like, "All right, follow me, but you gotta watch your feet." It's like there's dead spots in here. You can definitely sink your foot down. So I'm like, "All right, I'll just follow you." I'm like, I've done this kind of stuff 100 times, right? I take the
What could
second
go
step
wrong?
right up to my knee. I'm like, "You don't say."
And we were getting ready for a 3-hour
Why didn't you warn
set.
me?
Or,
It was warm out.
it
at
was
least.
warm. It
Yeah.
didn't matter. Yeah. But so that's what I'm thinking with the dog. I'm like, God damn it! So we go back across, and I went up about 40 yards, and I found a spot that was only like 4 foot that wasn't walkable, and I got into the top of my laces and jumped, and I was fine. And then we found another spot to cross, but
So, to answer the question, don't be scared about putting cameras on public land.
I know Dallas. I know you've run cameras on public land. I've run cameras on public land for 3-4 years now. I've never had an issue.
Have
But
you had pictures of people?
yeah,
Me too. And so last year I had pictures of people too.
Yep.
Nobody.
no. And I guess I would say get your camera off the beaten path. So
Yeah.
don't put them
Yeah,
right
not
on
on
a
a
main trail.
I mean, deer trails, sure.
Be
but
on
not,
deer trails, but not on main
No.
walking trails. Most people that are hunting public are not just out bushwhacking. If they are, what I'm seeing, the people I have gotten on camera, they're not really paying that close of attention
They're checking
when they're walking.
shit out.
Yeah. So I would say, get your camera off the beaten path, be on a deer trail on some kind of a moving corridor, and then
Hang it high.
I've fallen
hang
in
it-
love. Dallas put me on, I knew about them, but Dallas put me onto those HME camera mounts that you screw in, and you can get them up on the tree a little bit, or you can get them kind of out of the.
off to the
And
side.
there's no strap, so it's
Yeah,
if
you
you're
get
not looking,
like a big cherry tree or a big oak tree too, you can put it. You don't have the strap going around, so it's not as noticeable.
Yeah.
And it blocks the profile of the camera.
for sure. So I think that helps too. I would say those camera mounts, you can get them, you can buy them in a lot of different places. I think I bought mine at the hell's that big? It's almost like a Walmart, but it's just all. They have one in Canandaigua, and they got one in
Costco?
Rockport. No, it's Runnings. I bought them at Runnings, and they had 2-packs of them, and I bought several 2-packs.
The camera mounts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like $10 for the 2-pack, which is a really pretty good
that's
deal.
a great deal.
So,
Those
like,
I love those.
Yeah, so I would say I have one on every camera now, except with the Cuddy links. I don't think they mount up real well.
No,
but-
that's the thing about cutting links. They should put a screw mount in the bottom. Like every other camera has a screw mount in the bottom, but they only have it in the back, so it makes it so that only their things work, but theirs don't work as good as these HMEs that are cheap.
Yeah.
So I was
They're
just
awesome.
I was laughing before because it just dawned on me that I had so I've hung quite a few cameras in PA, and I've had some good card pulls and some not as good, but generally pretty good down there. And PMH gave me his camera a couple years ago.
Oh, Dallas.
He went with us.
Thank you, friend.
God bless you.
Oh, you're such a good guy.
So 2 years ago, September, we drive down there, me, Dad, and PMH, and he's like, "I got a camera. I want you to hang it down there, and just leave it, and we'll get it during gun season or whatever." So we go down there, and we walk like 200 yards from the truck, and I go, "You got a SD card in there, right? What's that?" All right, let's go back to the truck. So I open it up. They go, "Yeah, there's no batteries in here either, right?" No. Okay. So I put batteries and SD card in there, and we walk out. It's the where that shack was.
Yeah.
Where they were blocking us. So we go up that
That
road.
girl that was giving Brian the eyes. Like,
Yeah. So we go left. We go left there, and then out
Oh,
out
the
onto
hot
that.
girl.
Oh, the hot girl, yeah.
We go out on that long ridge.
Only.
It's a real easy find because you go. The road bends around to the right, but we always
You
go
just go
left
straight.
to
Yeah.
hunt our big spot there. So, but we stayed on top and we just followed that big ridge. It's a long ways, You go down to the little saddle in the ridge, and there's a nice scrape there. And I'm like, oh, this is a great spot for a camera. So I hang the camera there for him. He's with me. He's with me. I mean, I know it's September, but he's with me.
Oh, thank you, friend, for hanging my truck
I'm like, all
in.
right, well, here's your
I'm just
camera.
gonna sit down right here.
Oh,
I'm
Dallas.
gonna not go any further.
My knees hurt, Dallas.
We went 2 miles further than I want to go. We only went 1.5 miles. Ah, I know, friend.
So PMH and Robert go down there for opening day, and you know half of that story.
Oh, yeah.
You know the good part that we can't even. I don't even want to get into that. But anyways, PMH, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go up there," and the whole plan was I'm gonna go up there and get my camera and see what happened that whole time through the whole bow season and everything. So he comes back home and he calls me. He's like, "I couldn't find my camera anywhere. I don't remember where we put it." So I go back there. So the last day of that hunt, that was when we couldn't find John.
Yeah, yeah.
And I left Tard in the truck, and I'm like, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Well, I forgot how far. It was a deep snow. I'm
Right. It was frozen.
It took me like an hour and a half to go and get the camera and bring it back and everything. So I get home and I check it, and there's PMH in full orange walking past the camera. And then an hour later, he walks back. He goes, I know I was out there. He goes, that wasn't me. And it didn't really look like him in the picture, the way he was moving and stuff, but it was him.
Because he was actually moving? Is that why it didn't look like him?
I guess.
He wasn't laying like this smoking a cigarette?
Yeah.
I'm shot, Dallas.
He's built like you, though.
Come find me, friend.
Oh,
I
man.
just hope someday to be half the man PMH is.
I know.
I really do.
But I
Flooring
just
expert
thought of
from
that
the
because,
start.
like, that's the only, of all the public trail cameras I've ever hung, it's not a ton of them, but it's a decent amount. That's the only person I've ever got on my camera is the guy looking for his own camera.
I couldn't find it, Dallas. I looked
It's
everywhere.
gone. Yeah. Those damn Pennsylvanites took it. Yeah. Criminals.
I actually had a guy. So last year, my camera, I had just like a big 6-point come. I had a beautiful action shot, like running right at the tree, and then like a half hour later, I had Elmer Fudd with an arrow knocked.
Ooh.
His
He was
release.
hunting.
He was his release on his string, and he was looking at his phone. And the deer and him, neither one of them took my camera. I'm guessing he hit it. I don't know. I mean, the deer was running like it.
Oh, it was like
He was
angled or
he was
something.
tracking the deer.
Yeah. I gotta. God damn, this beer's running right.
So
through me.
that was a pretty
you
cool.
Keep talking, Trigger. You got great.
I'm not
stories.
really sure. I probably deleted the pictures, but that was probably if I would have. That was a pretty neat set, and I don't know if you got the deer, but I got a picture of both of them.
I had a great. I had a great camera pulled down there
that's cold.
3 years ago in PA. It was awesome.
Yeah, he had some good bucks on
I
there.
had some nice.
And that was the year that I
don't think we got much that year. It
2
might have been
years
the year
ago
we
when
got
I saw
nothing.
that huge one. You had good pictures up there, but it was.
That was the PMH year. We had that
Okay,
one with all the. He had a triple brow tine on one side, a double on the other, and a split G2.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you tell that story? Seeing the big one there when you had no gun?
No, I probably can.
We have told it on a podcast before,
have?
but
You told it.
Nobody
on our
remembers.
PA podcast.
yeah, me and Billy did a PA preview last year, which I think our whole PA series last year was good. It was good storytelling, like good.
I love that. Well,
Like
that
the
whole
whole thing.
series was fun. Like the day,
Yeah.
like the follow up recaps each day in the truck. Like that was
Yeah.
so much fun.
So you had
Sasquatch.
And if you're somebody who's new to listen to this podcast, I would go back to like we had like our podcast that we did on Thanksgiving up at up at deer camp at Harvey Deer Camp. Like I've listened back to that a couple times. Like it's just so much fun because we're all just having a good time. It's sitting around the table at deer camp, and the stuff we did after our hunts in PA in the truck it was just a freaking
during the
riot.
hunts.
During the hunts,
Just
yeah.
everything
I
about PA is
I think those truck
as good as it gets.
those truck podcasts, like right on in the moment.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
when you're frustrated because you're.
Yeah, you really
You
get
know,
everyone's
you're
literally.
Yeah,
their
you get their
feelings,
true
like-
feelings. The next day, you're like, it's already type 2 fun. You're like, yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I liked
There
it.
was a great.
I was a little
Corn
tired.
man. Yeah.
Your truck was a really nice group too, like with you and AJ and Danny and Mike.
Yeah.
I thought that was always like a really good reflection of what happened every day.
Oh,
yeah, but you guys
for
are all
sure.
too nice.
Because it was a nice mix of like
You're all
different
too
types
nice
of,
and well mannered. That's not good.
No, but it got a
Well,
little bit.
Hatchet-
It got a little bit shady towards the last couple days.
yeah, the last day was a little
Mike
shitty.
started getting a little bit, comfortable with everybody and what the whole organization was about. And yeah,
He was starting to question authority.
he realized that there was nobody in charge. And he was pushing the envelope. But yeah, those I would definitely anybody because we've got a lot of new people listening based off of numbers, so I would definitely recommend anybody to go back to like any of our PA stuff around like it would be like December of last year.
Yeah,
I don't know
mid-December.
what numbers those are, but
It was 5 episodes in mid-December, and I
Yeah.
think they were pretty much golden.
they were.
Yeah, I love listening back to that stuff. But yeah, and this is going to turn into a two-parter because nobody's going to want to sit and listen to us talk. But this is all good stuff, and we haven't even talked about the whole mobile setup stuff. But I don't like if you guys are done talking, that's fine. But like I am having a good time.
You could make this into a 7-part. How many more beers you got?
Yeah.
I got a whole fridge full in the garage.
We're here
I
now.
will
We're
need to
talking.
make
I already
another,
look like a pumpkin, so.
Yeah.
What else you got? Any more listener questions here?
Well,
Do you want me to get the tape measure out?
yeah, would you? I think we've answered most of the questions because I was planning on the podcast tomorrow, so I was kind of banking on maybe getting a few more. But whatever, we answered what we had.
You did good.
The other, I wanted to give a little tip because I heard somebody talk about something on another podcast I listened to, and something that you taught me, you probably don't even know you taught me. You ready for this?
Just looking at you, Trigger.
You're never gonna.
If it's a bad